Chapter 2177. One day later, Xiaoping went directly to the transfer station near the Hall of Missions. He took the teleportation formation and was immediately teleported to the treasury. The treasury of the illusion race was located in the deepest part of the illusion realm. It was a huge golden palace that covered an area of more than 30 million square kilometers. It was practically endless. This is the treasury of the illusion race? With a swoosh, Xiaoping was teleported to the door of the treasury. There were also people who had passed the test with him. There were more than 100 of them. He looked forward and immediately saw a majestic palace standing on the ground. It was so tall that it reached the clouds. It emitted an endless aura and majesty. It was extremely vast and majestic. The entire palace seemed to have been set up with densely packed restrictive formations that twisted the space around them. Countless restrictive formations had merged with the sky and the earth. If anyone dared to touch the restrictive formations of the treasury, they would immediately be struck by lightning. Vaguely, through the golden crow's hell eye, he could see that the entire treasury contained layers of space. Entering it was like entering a space maze, and there was no way to get out. Under Xiaoping's divine sense, he could even sense a powerful saint's aura in the depths of the treasury. Whoever dared to have any ideas about this treasury would most likely die. It could be said that this place was so well protected that not even a fly could get in. Finally, we're here. Previously, we just came to exchange for treasures. I didn't expect that we would have the opportunity to become guards. Isn't that right? Last time, when we came to exchange for treasures, we were ruthlessly extorted by the guards here. They said that if we didn't get any benefits, they would give us some trash. We had no choice but to be extorted. Damn, I had the same experience. This time, it's finally my turn to become a guard. If I don't extort more, I will have suffered for nothing this time. You're right. This is where we will rise and get rich. Many people of the illusion race discussed excitedly. Their eyes lit up. They felt that their good days had finally arrived. They didn't have to live frugally like before. Are you the new guards? At this time, an old man in a gray robe walked out of the treasury. He had the aura of a misfortune state expert. He seemed to be very old, and it was unknown how many tens of thousands of years he had lived. His grayish-white eyes were terrifying. That's right, Elder Titan. When the crowd saw the gray-robed elder appear, they immediately felt deep veneration. This was because the other party was an elder who guarded this treasury. He had a high status and was extremely powerful. His status was second only to the saints. They already knew a thing or two about the people in the treasury. Very good. Follow me in. In the future, all of you will have to guard this treasury and strictly abide by the rules here. Otherwise, if you activate the restrictive array of the treasury, no one will be able to save you. Elder Taildon nodded and led the way. Seeing this, everyone followed Elder Titan into the treasury. Suddenly the space around them changed. It was as if they had been directly teleported into a different space within the treasury. Clearly, the treasury's entrance and the treasury's interior were two different spaces. Even if someone broke the door of the treasury, they would not be able to enter the depths of the treasury. The treasury is divided into two halls. One is the outer hall, and the other is the inner hall. Elder Titan explained as he walked. The treasures in the outer hall are mainly used to provide large amounts of pills, treasures, materials, secret techniques, and so on. These are all things that can help mortals increase their cultivation. However, the inner hall is different. Inside are the true treasures of our illusion tribe. There are treasures of the universe. There are saints guarding it, so no one can get close. Your main job is to patrol the outer hall and look for criminals who are trying to break into the treasury to steal. At the same time, monitor the restrictive array for any abnormalities. You don't have to worry about anything else. You are not allowed to get close to the inner hall. Yes, Elder. Everyone nodded vigorously. They knew that these rules were very important to them. If they were even the slightest bit careless, they might immediately be chased out of the treasury, or even executed. Inner hall. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He instinctively felt that this so-called inner hall was probably where he was supposed to go. Perhaps the sound vein stone was stored inside. As for the treasures in the outer hall, he did not care much about them. He could casually take out some treasures that were comparable to the treasures in the outer hall. Of course, if he had the chance, he did not mind stealing. No one would complain about having too many treasures. Remember, you must hold on to the token in your hands. This is the only thing that can prove your identity. If you lose it and wander around the treasury, you will die in vain. No one will save you. Elder Titan warned. Elder, where do we usually live? Where do we live? Someone asked. They are all in the outer hall. Elder Titan replied. The outer hall's treasury is divided into two parts. One is the treasury, and the other is the guards' living quarters. There is a courtyard for you to live in, and a public canteen. In the future, you will eat, drink, and poop there. Every week, you will have 2 days off. You will take turns to guard the treasury. If there are holidays, you can take them off depending on the situation. Anyway, you don't have to worry too much. This is a leisurely job. For millions of years, no one has attacked the treasury. It is very safe. Many people from the illusion race laughed. They were very relaxed. That was indeed the case. First of all, the illusion race would not attack. After all, they knew how terrifying the treasury was. Anyone who dared to enter such a forbidden area would die without a doubt. Secondly, it was impossible for outsiders to know where the illusion race's nest was. Even if they wanted to attack, they would not be able to find the location. In this way, the treasury was very safe. For many years, no one had dared to attack it. It was also because of this that being a guard in this place was simply a cushy job. There was money, free time, holidays, and a stipend. There was no better job than this. Countless people would break their heads trying to get in. You have a month to familiarize yourself with the surroundings of the treasury. After a month, you will start working. So cherish this leisure time. Not long after, Elder Titan brought everyone to the living area of the outer palace. This place had many luxurious courtyards built. Everyone had their own independent courtyard to live in, and they would not be disturbed by others. Life was very luxurious. Thank you, Elder Titan. Everyone cupped their hands. After saying this, the gray-robed elder nodded and left. Everyone was very excited. They found their own rooms, then used their tokens to open the restrictive formation of the courtyard, and moved in. They did not need to fight over it, because every courtyard had already been divided. Xiaoping was the leader of this group, so he naturally had the best courtyard. It was like a villa. He entered the courtyard and took over the restrictive formation of the entire courtyard. Tonight, I have to find a chance to test the situation in the inner hall. After settling down, Xiaoping touched his chin and thought about his next plan. Chapter 2178. Late at night, everyone went to sleep. In the dead of night, Xiaoping used the formless mask to hide his aura. He blended into the void and quietly left his courtyard, heading for the inner palace of the treasury. Along the way, no one knew that Xiaoping had passed by or left. Not even Elder Titan and the other experts had noticed. This was the magic of the formless mask. It was almost as powerful as the laws. After a day of understanding, Xiaoping finally understood the difference between the inner palace and the outer palace. Although they were said to be the inner palace and the outer palace, they weren't actually in the same place. The two palaces were separated by layers of constantly twisting space. They were surrounded by restrictive matrices. If an ordinary person approached, they would be discovered immediately. Moreover, if one wasn't proficient in restrictive matrices, they would be forever lost in this spatial maze, never to come out. Even Elder Titan, who had lived for tens of thousands of years, didn't know much about the mysteries of the inner palace. It was a forbidden place that only sages could set foot in. It was one of the most important places of the illusion race. If an ordinary person faced such a situation, they would have given up long ago. It was a forbidden place that was impossible to enter. But Xiaoping was different. He used the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell to see through the restrictive matrices. He could see the flaws of the countless restrictive matrices, allowing him to easily avoid them. The so-called spatial maze couldn't stop his pace at all. Whoosh! An hour later, Xiaoping's figure flickered into the void. He easily jumped through the layers of space, passed through countless traps, and finally arrived at the inner palace. Is this the inner palace of the treasury? With a whoosh, Xiaoping jumped out of the spatial mezzanine and came to the square of a luxurious palace. He carefully hid in the depths of the void, secretly observing the place. The inner palace of the treasury seemed to be in an independent space. It was a small plain world, and the entire palace occupied a small plain world. The walls of the golden palace were practically impenetrable. They seemed to be made of rare materials in the universe. They were as hard as sage artifacts, and ordinary power couldn't break them at all. Even a low-grade sage artifact's full power attack could only leave some marks on the walls. Most importantly, there were many restrictive matrices engraved around the walls, communicating with the power of countless dimensions. If one wanted to break a wall, they would need to deal with the restrictive power of the entire palace. This also increased the defense of the entire palace to an outrageous level, as if it was a turtle shell without any gaps. At this moment, the door of the inner palace was tightly shut. There was not a single guard around, and no one else came in or out of this place. The entrance was strictly guarded, and the courtyard was deserted, as if it would never receive any guests. Generally speaking, only saints or people who had made great contributions were qualified to enter the inner hall. There might not even be one such person in a long time, so it was not as lively as the outer hall. It doesn't seem that difficult to get in. Xiaoping rubbed his chin. Although the inner hall was filled with layers of restrictive arrays, and was like an impenetrable fortress, an ordinary person would be helpless against it. However, he was different. With the existence of the golden slime, it had the characteristic of devouring everything. As long as it was willing, it could devour any material. Even the walls of this palace were no exception. The problem was that those who wanted to enter the inner hall of the treasury were not only restricted by the existence of these formations, but also some old monsters. There's a saint suppressing this place. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. His golden crow's hell eyes saw through the void, and his deep gaze penetrated the countless restrictive matrices within the palace. No wall could obstruct his gaze. He immediately sensed that there were more than 10 powerful auras in the depths of the treasury. They were at least near ancient saint level, and there were even middle ancient saints and immemorial saints. This was a dragon's lair and tiger's den. It could be said that the strongest defense of the treasury wasn't the restrictive matrices, but the terrifying old monsters that guarded the treasury. If he tried to barge in, these old monsters would instantly discover his tracks and launch a thunderous attack, beating him to a fate worse than death. He clearly remembered that when he fought against a near-ancient saint, even the aftermath of the attack had severely injured him. This was an unstoppable power. If it was a middle ancient saint, or even an immemorial saint, then he would be dead for sure. No matter how many lives he had, it wouldn't be enough. There really are many treasures in this place. Xiaoping was drooling as he looked at the situation in the inner palace. He realized that the inner palace was divided into 99 areas, and each area seemed to have some universal-level treasures. There was no lack of low-grade, middle-grade, and even high-grade sacred weapons. Other than that, there seemed to be universal-level rare materials placed in some areas. For example, the sound rune stones that he yearned for were placed in one area. They were piled up like a mountain and emitted waves of magical sound waves from time to time. If he could get these sound rune stones, he could immediately forge the Bell of Chaos into a sacred weapon. No, I can't be impulsive. I have to think of a way to lure these old monsters away. Otherwise, I won't stand a chance at all. I'll probably be torn apart by these old monsters as soon as I go in. Xiaoping touched his chin and suppressed his restless heart. He was thinking about the feasibility of this matter. If he wanted these old monsters guarding the treasures to leave, he would need something big enough to alarm the entire illusion race, forcing them to leave the inner palace and participate in the battle. This way, he would have the opportunity to enter the inner palace and plunder without restraint, obtaining endless benefits. He couldn't imagine to what extent his wealth would skyrocket if he plunder all these treasures. Alright, if I tell them about the illusion race and the abyss demons colluding with each other, or even the location of the illusion race's nest, then the illusion race will be doomed. They will definitely be attacked by the human clan, or even all the other races in the universe. Xiaoping knew that colluding with the abyss demons was an unforgivable crime in the universe. No matter which race it was, they hated traitors and traitors the most. Everyone wanted to get rid of them as soon as possible. He remembered that in the immemorial era, the abyss demons had brought a great catastrophe to the entire universe. Although ordinary people had already forgotten such a painful lesson, the sages who had lived for countless years would never forget it. They constantly remembered how terrifying the abyss demons were, and they had to prevent the abyss demons from making a comeback. Now that there was a race colluding with the abyss demons, they would probably immediately be enraged. It would be fine if they didn't know about this, but once they did, the illusion race wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Even if they didn't die, they would suffer great losses. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately left the inner palace silently. He had already obtained enough information. All that was left was to start the next step of his plan. Chapter 2179. Just as Xiaoping was about to leave, a voice rang out from the depths of the treasury, emitting a bewildered voice. "What's the matter, old ancestor?" Many sages asked. The illusion race old ancestor had been cultivating in seclusion and rarely woke up. There was a strange feeling just now, as if someone was spying on our place, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. However, in the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. This old man couldn't find any trace of it, so I don't know where it came from. The voice said, "There's actually such a thing. Let me check it out." Several illusion race sages looked solemn. This actually made an Archean sage have such doubts. They immediately took action, and their terrifying divine senses permeated every corner, within a radius of tens of thousands of light years. It could be said that within such a search range, no matter what dimensional space one was in, one would not be able to escape from their search. This was simply all-seeing, and there was nowhere to hide. The entire illusory realm had been scanned by them. However, after a while they found nothing. The surrounding void was still silent, and there was nothing. This situation also alarmed the other sages in the illusion, and they all asked what happened. "Old ancestor, we didn't find anything strange, and there are no enemies hiding." Several illusion race sages reported, "Maybe it's just my imagination. Sometimes when people get old, they tend to have a lot of illusions like a whim." The voice sighed. Even an Archean sage like him couldn't detect a gaze. There were probably not many people in the entire universe. Since he couldn't find anything, it must be his illusion. He didn't believe that there was anyone in this world who could avoid his search, not even a sage. The other sages also nodded. In fact, they also didn't believe that there was anyone in this world who could approach the place where they were without a sound. The reason why they searched was just to relax. Now that they couldn't find anything, they naturally wouldn't continue to pursue it. Then, they warned the other alarmed sages, saying that it was just a whim of the old ancestor, and it was not a big deal. For a time, the entire treasury returned to its previous calm, leaving only a few sages cultivating in peace. From time to time, there were unfathomable cosmic vortexes coming from the depths of the void. At this time, Xiaoping had quietly returned to his residence in the outer hall of the treasury. No one around him noticed that he had left his residence. "Let's go back to Yanhuang Star first." Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. His figure flashed and returned to the space of the Mountain River Pearl. Then through the space channel of the Mountain River Pearl, he directly returned to Yanhuang Star. The reason why he needed to return to Yanhuang Planet was that he couldn't use any universe virtual network in the fantasy world. It was probably because the illusion race were afraid that their nests would be exposed, so they refused to use the universe virtual network. They could only use it when they left the illusion world. After all, the universe virtual network was the crystallization of humanity's intelligence. Any race that used it would leave a mark on it. Even though the human race said that they were fair and wouldn't use the universe virtual network to do anything and protect everyone's privacy, the illusion sage didn't dare believe such a promise. In reality, some of the saints of the top races wouldn't use the universe virtual network if they didn't need to, afraid that they would leave any traces or blackmail on the human race. Hence, the fantasy world was a place where the internet was banned. No one was allowed to use the universe virtual network. However, They had their own internal network, similar to a local area network, allowing them to communicate with each other. Of course, it wasn't as magical as the universe virtual network. Therefore, to facilitate contact with the outside world, Xiaoping returned to Yanhuang planet. Corinne, how do you think I should pass on this news to the human race? Xiaoping originally planned to use his identity to pass on the news to the human race's holy land of Taichu, which was the most convenient and fastest way. However, he needed to plunder the illusion race's treasure house. If his identity as Xiaoping was leaked, then it would not be very convenient to act, and he might be targeted. Therefore, he was caught in a dilemma. Don't worry, the human race has an intelligence network throughout the universe. People call it the dark net. Corinne smiled slightly. This is an extremely huge intelligence network organization, responsible for providing intelligence to countless people. As long as you have money, you can buy all kinds of intelligence. Even if you have any special intelligence, the dark net will give you generous rewards according to the rarity of the intelligence. This is an intelligence trading organization. If you want to leak the news of the fantasy world, you can use the dark net intelligence system, and you may even make a lot of money because of this. After all, the specific location of the fantasy world is a mystery for thousands of years. Countless people can't find its whereabouts, but countless people desperately want to seek revenge on the illusion race, so the bounty is extremely high. I see. Then how can I contact the dark net? Xiaoping asked. When Old Master was still alive, he had a dark net account. You should be able to log in, so that people from the dark net can trade. This account is anonymous, and will not expose your identity, Corinne said in a deep voice. After saying that, he handed over the dark net account to Xiaoping. Xiaoping operated it a little, and immediately understood. With a whoosh, his consciousness immediately appeared in the universe virtual network. However, at this moment his whole body was surrounded by a mass of black fog, as if it was a mess, and no one could detect his real body. In the next second, he appeared in a unique virtual world. This was not a low-level city, a middle-level city, or a high-level city, but a dark world from the virtual network called the Dark Net. Xiaoping appeared in a strange castle, and the pedestrians passing by were basically like him. Their whole body wrapped in a mass of black fog, and their true faces could not be seen clearly. The surrounding people came and went very mysteriously, trading with the people in this place. Sir, what can I help you with? At this time, a waitress with an appearance similar to an elf came over. She was the receptionist of this place. I want to sell information, Xiaoping said. However, his voice was very hoarse, as if it had been distorted by the dark net, making people unable to distinguish what his original voice was like. Selling information? The waitress's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. I wonder what level of information it is. The dark net was very eager for all kinds of information in the universe. After all, this was the largest intelligence organization of the human race, and every piece of information had a great use. If they knew it before others, they would definitely obtain great benefits. Chapter 2180. It should be the highest level of information about the location of the illusion world. Xiaoping said lightly. What? The location of the illusion world? Hearing this, the waitress was shocked. She had worked in this place for a long time, so she naturally knew how important this information was. Countless organizations and forces in the universe wanted to know where the illusion world was, but after countless years, even the sages couldn't find it. Now someone actually knew where the illusion world was. Once this news got out, it would be earth-shattering. Please wait a moment. I'll ask the supervisor to come and receive you. The waitress didn't hesitate. She immediately informed her most senior supervisor because, according to her identity, she couldn't receive such an important guest. At the same time, she couldn't know such top-secret information. This was professional ethics. Not long after, an old man in a black robe walked over. His small eyes emitted bursts of light, and his aura was very powerful. He was a sage. Friend, please come with me to the VIP room. This place isn't suitable for talking. The black-robed old man waved his hand, and with a whoosh, the virtual space suddenly changed. Xiaoping was suddenly teleported to a VIP room, leaving only him and the black-robed old man. Friend, I have to warn you in advance. The black-robed old man stared at Xiaoping. This place is called the Honest Space. It contains a powerful power of law. If anyone dares to lie here, they will immediately be attacked by the power of law. Even a sage will die. So if you plan to lie, then you'd better leave now. I won't care about your reckless behavior. Do you understand now? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He sensed that he seemed to be in a strange space, between the virtual and the real. It contained the unfathomable power of the law of the universe. Obviously, this was a unique space in the universe's virtual network. It contained the crystallization of the supreme wisdom of the human race, and had a terrifying power that could threaten sages. This was probably one of the ways the dark net confirmed whether the information was true or not. Don't worry. Everything I said is true. There's absolutely no falsehood. Xiaoping was calm and composed. Very good. Since you're confident, I won't stop you. The value of this information is extraordinary. If it's true, you can obtain a medium-quality saint artifact, or a reward equivalent to a medium-quality saint artifact, Jianchen said with a smile. The black-robed old man stated the price of this information. Xiaoping nodded, expressing that he was satisfied with the reward, so he told them what he knew. At the same time, he also told them about the collusion between the illusion race and the abyssal demons, indicating that many of their sages had already turned into the abyss. Hearing this, the black-robed elder remained expressionless, but his heart was greatly shaken. It was as if he had experienced a violent storm, and he was unable to calm down for a long time. Because regardless of whether it was the specific location of the illusion realm, or the collusion between the illusion race and the abyss demons, there was no doubt that this was news that could shake the entire universe. Is what he said true? The black-robed old man secretly transmitted his voice to an unknown existence in another space. There's no reaction from the honest space, which proves that what he said is true, but whether it's the truth or not still needs to be verified. After all, he might have been tricked. A voice came down. Very good, I already know about this news. However, we still need to investigate whether it is true or not. If it is confirmed to be true, then the reward will be sent to you immediately. The black-robed elder said in a deep voice. No problem. Xiaoping nodded. He believed in the credibility of the human race's dark net. For countless years, he had never heard of the dark net cheating others of their rewards. Of course, his main purpose was to spread this news and let the illusion race suffer. As for whether there would be a reward or not, it was not a big problem. Where did you get this information from? You should know that the location of the illusion realm has always been erratic, and even sages can't find it. The black-robed elder asked curiously. This is my secret. All right, the deal is done. I will leave now. Xiaoping smiled slightly. Of course, he could not answer this kind of thing. After saying that, he directly left the dark net and returned to Yanhuang planet. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. When Xiaoping left, more than a dozen figures immediately appeared in this space. They were all the higher-ups of the human race's dark net, and all of them were terrifying existences of the sage level. What do you think about this matter? If it is true, it must be a major event that will shock the universe. That's right. Previously, we only suspected that the illusion race colluded with the demons of the abyss, but that was only a suspicion. There was no evidence. If the illusion race really defected to the abyss and became traitors, with the power of the illusion race, they will definitely be able to cause irreparable damage to all the races in the universe. The illusion race's transformation ability is too terrifying. Ordinary people can't even see through their true form. Once a war breaks out, the illusion race's ability will definitely cause us great trouble. The war with the abyss is imminent. We must not let the illusion race destroy our plan. Immediately inform the old ancestor. This matter is no longer something we can solve. Yes, let the old ancestor take action personally. With the strength of the old ancestor, he should be able to investigate this matter clearly. Please be careful. The illusion race has terrifying existences of the immemorial sage level, and there may even be immemorial demons hiding. If the illusion race counterattacks before they die, it will be troublesome. More than a dozen figures were discussing, their faces very solemn. They knew how terrifying the illusion race's ability was. If they reached the sage level, their transformation ability would be even more terrifying, and they could almost understand the mysteries of the human body. Even they might not be able to find the true body of the illusion race's sage. If during a war, the illusion race's sage transformed into one of the upper echelons of the human race, but they did not know about it, then the losses would be unimaginable. Because of this, all the races in the universe were extremely afraid of the illusion race. This was a strange and terrifying race that could affect the safety of countless races. It was said that the illusion race was one of the powerful races that walked out of the strange regions of the central universe. But who is the person who sent this information? How can he have such important information? Even we have searched so hard, but we still couldn't find the location of the illusion world. Someone was curious about Xiaoping's identity. The person logged in with a darknet account, so there's no way to find his true body. Perhaps the old ancestor who has the ultimate authority of the universe virtual network would know, but we don't have enough authority. Forget it. Although I'm curious about this person's identity, that's not the most important thing. Indeed, no matter what, if this information is true, then it will be a great help to us. This person is a friend, not an enemy. Everyone nodded. They immediately took action and sent this information back to the upper echelons of the human race. Chapter 2181. In a mysterious place in the upper echelons of the human clan. This was the highest hall of the human clan. At this moment, dozens of shadows appeared in the hall. They had all received the news and had projected themselves here from all over the universe. I heard that the exact location of the illusion plane has been found. Is this true? Intelligence analysis. After the darknet's analysis, this news has a 70% chance of being true. If it's true, this information must not be leaked. The reason why the phantom world is so hard to find is that it can move at any time. Once the phantom race discovers any movement, it will immediately escape and hide for tens of millions of years before coming out again. Indeed, the illusion race's intelligence is too terrifying. I'm afraid all the major races have their spies. Last time, we were lucky enough to get news of the illusion plane, but before the operation began, the illusion race found out and all our efforts were in vain. The human saints discussed this with serious expressions. After so many years, it wasn't that they hadn't found the illusion plane's location. In fact, there had been people who had found it by chance. But they hadn't expected that there would be spies from the illusion race among the various races, and even the upper echelons of the human clan. The news had been leaked and the illusion race had escaped, only reappearing after billions of years. It could be said that the illusory race was an extremely cunning race. If they sensed that something was wrong, they would flee far away. They would not appear in front of people for a long time, until people forgot about their threat. This was the illusion race's way of survival. Because they were afraid that this news would be leaked, they strictly controlled it. The saints who attended the meeting had all been tested. They couldn't be spies from the illusion race. According to this information, the illusion race seems to be colluding with the demons from the abyss. They might even be corrupted by the abyss. An ancient saint said, "What? Something like this has happened? It seems that the illusion race has really become traitors. They must be eliminated immediately. Damn it. This is the way to die. The illusion race dares to do such a disgraceful thing. Stupid illusion race. Don't they know that they can't cooperate with the abyss? They're the enemies of all races? And they've been corrupted by the abyss. How stupid. We can't let the illusion race go. Once they've been corrupted by the abyss, they'll be like a plague that can spread quickly." Many of the saints were enraged. This matter was more than 100 times more serious than discovering the location of the illusory race. There was actually a race that was colluding with the abyss. This was a betrayal of all the races in the world, and made them the public enemy of all races. This was unforgivable. Fortunately, they discovered it in time. Otherwise, if they discovered it later and the abyss started a war, they would probably suffer severe losses. However, This information only has a 70% chance of being true. We still need to be cautious. We need someone to go there and investigate. However, we can't let the illusion race discover us and alert them. A sage said in a deep voice. I'll go. Just at this moment, a voice rang out from the depths of the void. Following that, an elderly man in white robes walked out. Even though he was clearly standing in this space, it was as though he had transcended it. He himself seemed to represent a world. His body emitted a terrifying power of laws, constantly contending against the laws of the universe. It was strange, yet harmonious and unfathomable. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master. Seeing the white-robed old man, the saints were all in awe because this white-robed old man was one of the supreme experts of the human clan. He had reached the invincible saint realm. If Ancestral Master personally investigates, the illusion race won't be able to find us even if they have great abilities. The saints were full of confidence. Obviously, they admired the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master's strength. This was almost the peak combat force of the universe, and a horrifying existence on the level of a true overlord. Then I'll go and have a look. The white-robed old man chuckled and stroked his white beard. Then, he waved his hand lightly, and seemed to draw a mysterious talisman that contained endless power of laws. Instantly, the mysterious talisman turned into a black and white air current that absorbed the power of yin and yang. Finally, it condensed into a black and white fish that was about the size of a palm and looked extremely mysterious. Go! The white-robed old man, the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, patted it lightly. The small fish waved its tail lightly and easily merged into the void, easily crossing countless layers of the dimension space. To this small fish, these layers of the dimension space were nothing. Swoosh! Soon, the small black and white fish arrived at the illusion realm. Looking down from above, waves of invisible waves spread out and enveloped the entire illusion realm. However, no one could detect such a wave. Not even the sages could sense it. This was a mysterious power that surpassed everything else. Swoosh! After getting this information, the small black and white fish swayed again and quickly returned to the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master's hand, merging into the depths of his body. Right. This information is indeed true. The illusion realm is indeed in that place. It seems that it hasn't moved for a long time. The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master stroked his white beard, and a glint of light appeared in his eyes. Ancestral Master, did the people of the illusion race really join the abyss? An ancient saint asked. Indeed, more than half of the illusion realm was corroded by the power of the abyss. Almost all the saints of the illusion race became members of the abyss, the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master said in a deep voice. Damn the illusion race. They really became traitors. Ancestral Master, we should immediately send out troops to wipe out those traitors. Whoever dares to become a vassal of the abyss will be the public enemy of all races, and will have their entire family killed. The group of saints scolded angrily. Don't be in a hurry. I can sense the unfathomable power in the illusion realm. If we go there rashly, I'm afraid that many of them will slip through the net. We must send troops and kill all the traitors. The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master's eyes revealed a trace of cold light. There are many saints of the illusion race, and there might even be demons from the abyss lurking among them. This force is not to be underestimated. If we want to wipe out all the traitors, we must send all the saints from all races in the world. But if we send troops like this, we'll make too much noise and might be noticed by the illusion race. The saints looked grim. It doesn't matter. In my name, we'll hold a meeting of saints and preach. I'm sure we can invite many saints. The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master smiled faintly. When the meeting begins, I'll pretend to preach and secretly ask the old undying Empyrean Ancestral Master to use his power and teleport to the place of the illusion realm. By then, those traitors will have a hard time escaping. As expected of the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, he's indeed a sly old fox. The saints were impressed. What did you say? The Xiaoyao Ancestral Master glared at the saints. No. We said that Ancestral Master is extremely smart and unrivaled. Right. He can predict the enemy from 1,000 kilometers away and win the battle from 1,000 kilometers away. Right. Those brats of the illusion race are like babies in front of ancestral master. They're not worth mentioning at all. The saint sweated profusely and hurried to flatter him. You flatter me. I'm not as smart as you say. It's just a small trick, and it's not even 1/10,000th of my wisdom. The Xiaoyao ancestral master stroked his white beard smugly. The saints remained silent and criticized silently. Ancestral master was so powerful that they couldn't afford to offend him. Please remember the domain name of this book. Third Sect Leader's Mobile Version. Chapter 2182. A day later, Xia Ping received the news from the darknet. His information had been verified and confirmed to be 100% true. The darknet had already given him a reward. With a swoosh, his soul entered the darknet's virtual space once more. A bald old man appeared before him. He was one of the people in charge of the darknet. Friend, your information is indeed true. You will be able to obtain a mid-grade sage artifact. This is a list of many mid-grade sage artifacts. You can choose any one of them. The bald old man nodded lightly, and a holographic projection appeared before Xia Ping. There were many mid-grade sage artifacts listed on it, as well as a large amount of information about them. Xia Ping took a quick look. There were at least tens of thousands of them. One could imagine how rich the darknet was. Even sage artifacts seemed to be worthless. Of course, if you don't want a sage artifact and need other treasures, you can tell us. We will do our best to satisfy you. But the price must be equivalent to a mid-grade sage artifact. We won't give you anything beyond that. The bald old man looked at Xia Ping. In that case, I will need a large number of sound-grained stones. I wonder if you have any here? Xia Ping narrowed his eyes and looked at the bald old man. Originally, he had wanted to obtain a large number of sound-grained stones from the illusion race's treasury. However, he was a little impatient now. If he could obtain enough sound-grained stones from the darknet, he would be able to increase the power of his natal artifact right now. He was getting closer and closer to breaking through to the sempiternal realm. The lightning tribulation could descend at any time. This was a great tribulation. He had to be careful and use all the means at his disposal to increase his strength. Sound-grained stone is a special ore produced in the Central Universe's fortuitous encounter zone. It contains the mysterious power of sound waves. It's an excellent material for forging sage artifacts. The bald old man thought for a moment and said, It's not impossible if you want to exchange for sound-grained stones. A mid-grade sage artifact is roughly equivalent to 100 kilograms of sound-grained stones. Are you willing to accept it? He gave a price. Although the sound-patterned stone was indeed a rare ore, it was nothing to the rich and overbearing human race. Sure. Xia Ping was overwhelmed with emotions when he heard that. 100 kilograms of sound-patterned stones were more than enough for him to upgrade the Bell of Chaos to a low-grade sage artifact. It would naturally be better for the Chaos Bell if he could have more sound-patterned stones. However, 100 kilograms of sound-patterned stones were more than enough for him to forge magic treasures at the moment. Alright, since that's the case, let's seal the deal. These sound-patterned stones belong to you. If you have any more information in the future, feel free to contact us on the dark net. We guarantee that we will give you the best price. The bald old man wanted to rope in this mysterious person. Regardless of how this mysterious person obtained the information about the illusion realm, he definitely had a mysterious channel that no one knew about. He was someone worth roping in. Of course. Xia Ping nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a boom, and a black hole appeared beside Xia Ping. It turned from illusory to corporeal, and a spatial ring appeared. There were exactly 100 kilograms of sound-patterned stones inside. He immediately caught the space ring and left the universe virtual network. I've finally obtained the sound-patterned stone. Xia Ping was very excited. He didn't care how the humans would deal with the illusion race. Even if they wanted to deal with the illusion race, it wouldn't be something that could happen in a short period of time. They would definitely need to deploy troops. This would give him some time to buffer. At the same time, he gave the formless mask to Corinne, and let Corinne transform into Barty, and replace him as the treasury guard. This would prevent him from being discovered when he was not in this place. If anything happened, Corinne could also remind him at any time. Taking advantage of this time, he began to forge his life treasure, the Chaos Bell. A few days later, on an uninhabited planet near planet Yanhuang. At this moment, the entire planet had become Xia Ping's forging site. On a vast plain, a huge and majestic bell stood there. There were countless mysterious patterns carved on it, as if countless birds and beasts had appeared. Rumble, at this time, Xia Ping used the infernal golden crow flames. His whole body was emitting a dark golden deviant flame. The flames burned for billions of kilometers, as if the planet had become the sun. Anyone who approached this place would be burned to ashes. Hundreds of kilograms of sound stone, under the burning of the infernal golden crow flames, turned into a bronze-colored metal liquid. Each drop of liquid contained wonderful power. Splash, the bronze-colored liquid, under Xia Ping's control, quickly merged into the depths of the Chaos Bell. The Chaos Bell was like a greedy beast, absorbing the power of the sound stone. Dong dong dong. Xia Ping used the distant fire forging technique to constantly temper the Chaos Bell. He rearranged all its materials and all the restrictive arrays inside, quenched the impurities, and stimulated all of its power. One after another, restrictive arrays were engraved inside. As he continued to strike, the Chaos Bell became more and more magical. Vaguely, a transcendent aura emanated from the inside of the Chaos Bell, as if it was about to transcend. Wisps of chaos airflow spread out from its body. Each wisp of chaos aura was as heavy as Mount Tai, enough to crush a mountain. It contained a terrifying gravity. Clang clang clang. Suddenly, the Chaos Bell began to shake without any wind. With its body as the center, rings of sound waves were produced in a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers. They condensed and formed countless ripples like ocean waves. Such sound waves were boundless. Terrifying cracks appeared on the planets within a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers, and countless terrifying ravines appeared on the ground. Such sound waves even contained the power to destroy souls. They affected the matter in the void, and even the surrounding space seemed to be shattered. Terrifying spatial cracks appeared. After fusing with the power of the sound stone, the Chaos Bell's attack power increased by at least 10 times. Its materials contained the various characteristics of the sound stone. Many ripples vaguely appeared on the surface of the Chaos Bell. One after another, each pattern seemed to contain the nomological power of the sound Tao. This was the mysterious power in the depths of the sound stone. The reason why the sound stone had the power to destroy souls was that it contained the nomological power of sound path. Now all of it was absorbed by the Chaos Bell and fused into one. Ordinary magic treasures could not fuse with the sound stone, nor could they devour all the power of the sound stone. However, the Chaos Bell was different. It was a powerful magic treasure, with the chaotic pure gold as its foundation. It had the characteristics of containing all metal substances. No matter how strange the sound stone was, it could not compare to the chaotic pure gold, a treasure that came from the depths of chaos. Please remember this book's domain name. Third Sect Leaders. Chapter 2183. It has leveled up. It has leveled up to an inferior grade sage artifact. Suddenly Xia Ping was enlightened. He integrated all the sound rune stones into the Bell of Chaos, increasing the power of this Dharma treasure to an unprecedented level. The entire Bell of Chaos underwent a huge transformation. It kept shaking and emitting a vibrating sound. Such sound waves seemed to resonate with his body, his dharmic powers, and his soul. It was like the tiger-leopard thunder of a warrior, cleansing him from the inside out. Dong dong dong. As the sound waves continued to vibrate, Xia Ping sensed that his essence, spirit, and body had completely integrated into one. Every wisp of soul power, and every cell seemed to be in perfect harmony. He had reached the realm of spirit and body as one. The various barriers between the spirit and the body had all disappeared. It was perfect and had fused as one. In an instant, he felt that his essence spirit seemed to have undergone a rebirth. He sensed that he was close to the other side of the sea of bitterness, and was about to condense his true spirit. I see. I'm going to level up too. At this moment, Xia Ping felt like he had achieved the Tao, and was about to ascend. When he forged his natal Dharma treasure, the Bell of Chaos, into a sage artifact. He also used the magical power of the Bell of Chaos to completely eradicate the barriers between his soul and body. They were integrated into one, and spirit and body as one. He felt that his essence spirit was at the edge of the sea of bitterness. The originally indestructible barrier was suddenly shattered like glass by a gentle punch from him. Then Xia Ping crossed the sea of bitterness. His huge body jumped out of the depths of the sea of bitterness and reached the shore. This is transcendence. This is reaching the other side. Xia Ping felt that his soul seemed to have transcended at this moment. His soul was everywhere and could penetrate into every space-time. It was integrated into the depths of the universe and went deep into the source. His soul was free from the limitations of lifespan, the restraints of the 5 elements, and the restrictions of space. He was everywhere and omnipotent. It was as if all restrictions had been removed. His thoughts were unprecedentedly active. Even the computing speed of an AI might not be as fast as he was now. The sparks of his thoughts were too fast. He kept calculating, and he even felt that he could see a little of the future. Xia Ping's primordial spirit stood on the other side of the river. Beneath its feet was a vast river that surged and flowed. It had no beginning and no end. It was boundless. There were countless fishes living in the river. They kept struggling, but they couldn't jump out. Once their lifespans were up, these fish would sink into the depths of the river. It seemed to be the fate of all living beings. Only by transcending this river could one completely control one's destiny. Without a doubt, this was the river of destiny. The Dharma treasure tribulation is here, and the thunder tribulation is also. At this time, Xia Ping raised his head. In the depths of the void, a terrifying black vortex with a diameter of 10 light years had appeared. It was humming, brewing a terrifying calamity. It seemed to have already communicated with the origin of the universe. This tribulation wasn't just about ascending to the immortal realm. It was also about the Chaos Bell's magic treasure tribulation. Since the Bell of Chaos was his intrinsic Dharma treasure, this Dharma treasure tribulation was also counted on him. When the two terrifying tribulations overlapped, the power unleashed was simply unimaginable. What kind of disaster is this? Xia Ping sensed that the depths of the void seemed to have gathered the terrifying powers of earth, wind, water, fire, and many others. This was a great calamity that he had never seen before. If he could not withstand it, he would die. This was the malice of the universe's origin. Master, be careful. This is the tribulation of the 4 symbols. It was at this moment that the Azure Ox exclaimed in horror. Unbelievable! The tribulation of the 4 phenomenons is practically a legendary tribulation for one to reach the sempiternal realm. How did our master encounter it? This is simply unheard of. It simply couldn't believe its own eyes, because the tribulation of the 4 symbols had only appeared in legends. It was definitely the birth of a monster, an ominous existence that was hated by the heavens and earth. Once the tribulation of the 4 symbols appeared, it meant that the person facing the tribulation was doomed. It could be said that no one had ever survived the tribulation of the 4 symbols since ancient times. What is the 4 symbols tribulation? Xia Ping asked. The so-called tribulation of the 4 symbols represents 4 terrifying tribulations. The first is the Yellow Springs tribulation water. The second is the Vermilion Bird tribulation fire. The third is the Sky Demon tribulation earth. And the fourth is the 9 underworlds tribulation wind. The Azure Ox said solemnly, "These 4 tribulations are each more terrifying than the last. Ordinary lightning tribulation realm cultivators would die if they couldn't even withstand the first tribulation. Even immortal sages wouldn't be able to withstand the 4th tribulation. Even immortal sages wouldn't be able to withstand the 9 underworlds tribulation wind. Once it appears, even immortal sages would be reduced to ashes." The Azure Ox was incomparably shocked, because even immortal sages would die if such a tribulation descended. Yet, it had actually appeared on a peak lightning tribulation realm cultivator. This was simply impossible. Although it also knew that its master was extremely monstrous and rarely seen in the world, it couldn't possibly encounter such a terrifying tribulation that was practically impossible to resolve. I see. In that case, as long as I can withstand the tribulation of the 4 symbols, I'll be able to reach the immortal realm, right? Xiaoping clenched his fist. The Azure Ox didn't know what to say. If he could withstand it, he would indeed be able to ascend to the immortal sage. The problem was that with such a terrifying tribulation descending, could he still withstand it? Moreover, he could only rely on himself to withstand such a tribulation. Others couldn't help him at all. The Azure Ox could only pray in its heart. This terrifying tribulation power immediately permeated into the Mountain River Pearl's space, allowing all living beings in the space to sense the tribulation of the four symbols descending from the outside world. Fei, crow demon bird, nine-headed lion, amethyst tiger, and other primordial species also sensed this tribulation. My God, how can this human's cultivation speed be so fast? In the blink of an eye, he's actually about to undergo the final lightning tribulation and ascend to the immortal realm. This is too ridiculous. Many primordial species were dumbfounded. They had cultivated for thousands, or even tens of thousands of years, but they were only struggling at the lightning tribulation realm. Some of them were even at the avatar realm. Although the human's cultivation speed was indeed faster than the primordial species, it couldn't be this fast, right? Haha, look, that's the tribulation of the four symbols, the legendary supreme tribulation. A lightning tribulation that will definitely kill you. But that Wuxia actually encountered it. The heavens really have eyes, knowing that this bastard is a bandit. Even the heavens have to strike him to death. Fei immediately burst into laughter. It was in a good mood as it recognized the origin of this tribulation. My God, it really is the tribulation of the four symbols. Unimaginable. This human is indeed a monster of the world. Even the heavens want to destroy him. One should know that even the immortal sages will die if they encounter this tribulation of the four symbols. Since ancient times, no one has been able to survive it. This kid is done for. Haha, finally this evil human is done for. When he's dead, I'll divide the treasures of this world and inherit this human's wealth. Many primordial species were wild with joy, especially Fei and crow demon bird. Their eyes lit up as they felt that they had finally made it out of this predicament. Please remember this book's domain name. Third Sect Leader's mobile version. Chapter 2184. Rumble. At this moment, a terrifying energy burst out from the depths of the tribulation clouds. In an instant, the space within thousands of light years was torn apart. Terrifying spatial cracks and space-time wormholes appeared. From the depths of these spatial cracks and space-time wormholes, boundless tribulation water gushed out, as if it was going to drown the entire star region. It's really the Yellow Springs tribulation water. The Azure Ox was shocked. It saw that the tribulation water was yellow in color, as if it contained countless grains of sand. It gushed out from the spatial cracks and wormholes in all directions, dyeing the entire star region a dirt yellow color. No living being could stop the tribulation water from spreading out. Furthermore, the tribulation water also contained terrifying corrosive properties, causing countless wormholes to appear in the surrounding void. Haha, this human is dead for sure. Fei jumped up in excitement when he saw this scene. This is the real Yellow Springs tribulation water. It's said to be the Yellow Springs River from the depths of hell. It's extremely terrifying. Something like this can destroy the world and drown the void. Wherever the Yellow Springs tribulation water goes, everything will turn into dust. Even immortal sages can't withstand it. Their souls will sink into the Yellow Springs. Looks like this human has already incurred the jealousy of heaven and earth, and the rejection of the universe. That's why such an earth-shattering tribulation has appeared, drawing the Yellow Springs tribulation water to kill him. The primordial species looked at the Yellow Springs tribulation water in shock. If they weren't in the space of the Mountain River Pearl but the void outside, they would be drowned in an instant. This was the Yellow Springs tribulation water that even immortal sages feared like a tiger. It was rumored that when a world was about to be destroyed, it would communicate with the essence of the universe and receive the Yellow Springs of hell. The Yellow Springs tribulation water would flood in and drown the entire world. It would cover the layers of the void until every corner of the world was submerged, and every living being would be completely annihilated. After that, the world would be submerged in the Yellow Springs River. Everything would be melted and turned into origin matter. After an unknown number of years, the Yellow Springs tribulation water would recede, and the world would slowly recover and regain its vitality. It could be said that this was the water of apocalypse. It was extremely terrifying. This is too terrifying. To actually encounter the Yellow Springs tribulation water while advancing to the immortal realm. Rumor has it that this is practically the highest level of calamity. It is of the legendary level, and is extremely rare. Just what in the world did this human do to deserve the wrath of the Yellow Springs tribulation? This is too shocking. I've only heard of such a calamity from the patriarchs, but I've never seen it before. Who has seen it? Isn't this crazy? Even undying sages would die if they encountered such a disaster. Once one encounters the Yellow Springs tribulation water, it'll be like facing a calamity. Even undying saints would be melted by the Yellow Springs tribulation water. Seems like this human is dead for sure. No matter how powerful he is, he won't be able to survive this calamity. Many of the archaic descendants were frightened out of their wits. Even though they were watching from a distance, and didn't actually encounter it, just watching from the side made them feel as if there was a blade on their backs. After all, this was the famous Yellow Springs tribulation water. Even transcendent existences like undying sages would drown in it. Wherever it went, everything would be submerged. The void would melt, and everything would be reduced to nothingness. This Yellow Springs tribulation water came from the depths of the void, penetrating the bodies of living beings, and seeping into their souls. It was impossible for even a primordial spirit to escape. This was because the Yellow Springs tribulation water originated from the famous Yellow Springs of Hell. It specialized in seizing souls and primordial spirits. Even the souls of gods and demons wouldn't be able to break free after falling into it, let alone mortals. At this moment, the Yellow Springs tribulation water had completely submerged the surrounding 100,000 light years. Almost the entire star region had been submerged in the Yellow Springs tribulation water. One planet after another was melted by the Yellow Springs tribulation water. Even the stars were no exception. Fortunately, this was a unique star region where planet Yanhuang was located. There were no other planets with life apart from planet Yanhuang. Otherwise, it would definitely cause a huge commotion and countless deaths. Master. The Green Ox looked at Xiaoping's situation nervously. He discovered that Xiaoping had been completely submerged in the depths of the Yellow Springs tribulation water. The surrounding void had been corroded into thousands of dimensional black holes. From time to time, the Yellow Springs tribulation water would splash out, producing sizzling sounds as it corroded the starry sky. However, even though the situation was so terrifying, the Green Ox could still see very clearly that Xiaoping had not been melted into dregs by the Yellow Springs tribulation water. On the contrary, Xiaoping's body emitted an ancient luster. Dense dark golden runes appeared on the surface of his skin. An ancient and mysterious bloodline surged out from the depths of his body. An ancient divine bird appeared behind him. It was unfathomable, as if it was a supreme ruler. As he soaked in the Yellow Springs tribulation water, the Yellow Springs tribulation water seeped into his pores, cleansing every cell in his body and removing all impurities. It was as if he had taken the power of the Yellow Springs tribulation water for himself. My God, Master is too monstrous. This is the famous Yellow Springs tribulation water. Legend has it that it comes from the Yellow Springs of Hell. Master actually wants to devour it and take it for himself? Isn't he crazy? The Green Ox was dumbfounded. As one of the 10 ancient beasts, the Taotai was said to devour everything. It was very fierce, and there was nothing it didn't eat. However, there was one thing it didn't dare to eat, and that was the Yellow Springs of Hell. Legend had it that the supreme Taotai of the ancient times was too greedy and unscrupulous. It actually went to devour the Yellow Springs River. In the end, it didn't finish devouring the Yellow Springs. Instead, it was stuffed to death. Even its primordial spirit was assimilated into the Yellow Springs and completely melted. But now, its master was even more fierce and arrogant than the Taotai. He was brazenly devouring the Yellow Springs tribulation water. If this wasn't crazy, then what was? But how could the Green Ox know Xiaoping's constitution? He had the bloodline of the Golden Crow of Hell. He was an ancient fiend god born from the depths of the Yellow Springs, the ruler of Hell. To Xiaoping, the Yellow Springs tribulation water was no different from bathwater. Because he had devoured a large amount of the Yellow Springs tribulation water, the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline in his body had undergone a further transformation. All the impurities in his body had been cleansed. Legend has it that any living creature that soaked in the Yellow Spring water, regardless of whether it was an evil person with monstrous sins or a saint who moved the world, would be cleansed into a piece of white paper and become the purest soul. One could imagine the power of the Yellow Springs tribulation water. It could purify all impurities, including souls. To a certain extent, it was a treasure that countless living creatures desired. Chapter 2185. Gulp, gulp, gulp. Xiaoping stayed in the depths of the Yellow Springs calamity water and used his cultivation method to devour it like a whale, constantly devouring large amounts of it. This was supposed to be calamity water that could corrode everything. It was a calamity of the apocalypse, but under the suppression of the Golden Crow of Hell's bloodline, it became supreme holy water that tempered his body and raised his cultivation. 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million Golden Crow of Hell cells. These Golden Crow of Hell cells were all awakening at a crazy rate. He could feel that after devouring a large amount of Yellow Springs calamity water, the Golden Crow of Hell's bloodline deep within his body had undergone a huge transformation. The Yellow Springs calamity water contained the pure source energy of Hell. This was extremely beneficial to his cultivation. After being cleansed by the Yellow Springs calamity water, all the impurities in his body had been eliminated. His skin had also become glass-like, releasing a holy luster, raising his constitution to an unprecedented level of toughness. Even the golden Arhat body of Buddhism couldn't compare to Xiaoping's current glass body. It was close to a perfect body. Moreover, his soul had also been cleansed by the Yellow Springs calamity water. The various killing auras, vengeful spirits, curses, and baleful auras that had entangled his soul had all been eliminated. This made Xiaoping feel like a newborn baby. Even the legendary angels could not compare to him. At this moment, he was the purest human in the universe. If a Buddhist saw Xiaoping like this, they would immediately exclaim that he was a natural-born Arhat. If an angel saw this, then Xiaoping would be the holy son of the angel race. Such a soul was unprecedentedly pure, and it could also unleash terrifying power. His body released a holy light. Ordinary people with evil hearts would immediately feel pain when they saw this light. They would prostrate on the ground and repent of their sins. What the hell? What's going on? The baleful crow demon bird in the distance saw this scene and was stunned. Why do I suddenly feel that he's the purest person in the world when I see him like this? Lying to him is an unparalleled sin. Impossible. This bastard human is the most vicious and cunning. Even the demons from the abyss aren't as evil as him. How can he be the purest person in the world? Illusion, this must be an illusion. But something's not right. When I see him like this, I feel like I've seen a Buddha or an angel. I want to prostrate myself and complain about my sins. I ate something on the sly just now. I almost wanted to say it out loud. Strange. This human is too strange. Could it be that not even the Yellow Springs tribulation waters can kill him, and even give him so many benefits? Many of the primordial species were dumbfounded. When they saw Xiaoping's appearance, it was as if they could feel the glory of God. They wanted nothing more than to kneel on the ground and beg God to forgive them. Especially the crow demon bird and the fae, they were driven mad. They felt that they didn't hate Xiaoping at all at this moment, not even envy, jealousy, or hatred. They couldn't understand Xiaoping at all. This situation was too strange. Yes, my energy arts, magical power, and even my martial arts and divine abilities have all changed. Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat as he discovered that his body had undergone a huge change. However, such a change was to be expected. The so-called Yellow Springs represented all living beings. Whether it was humans, demons from the abyss, demons from hell, gods and devils, They were all equal in the Yellow Springs. They were all living beings, all living things in this world. The Yellow Springs tribulation waters contained the will of all living beings. Ever since he cultivated the pure yang ever-dying incantation and acquired the bloodline of the Golden Crow of Hell, he had been able to form countless divine abilities that could pierce through anything and everything, and were filled with boundless killing intent and fearsome sharpness. However, after devouring the Yellow Springs tribulation water and being cleansed by it, the essence of his martial arts had undergone an earth-shattering change. His magical power and soul had fused with the will of all living beings, and contained the will and ultimate meaning of the hell of mortals and living beings. At this moment, Xia Ping's every move and every single strand of his magic power was all-encompassing, encompassing the entire universe and devouring the world. Everything was in the depths of his magic power, his nascent spirit and his cells. Boom! All of a sudden, Xia Ping unleashed a fist strike that contained the will of all living beings. His fist energy pierced through the heavens, and his magical power reached the gods, causing all sorts of natural phenomena to appear in the area. Men, women, children, commoners, birds, beasts, demons, devils, angels, Buddhas, and all sorts of other living beings appeared in the starry sky. With merely a single punch, all of the Yellow Springs tribulation water in this expanse of the starry sky was dispersed. It connected the heavens and the earth, and even this expanse of space was shaken to the point that countless cracks appeared on it. It was like glass that crackled. In other words, if this fist strike had struck an immortal sage, his soul would have been shattered, and he would have been severely injured, and then annihilated by the boundless will. Too strong. Xia Ping sighed emotionally. The will of all living beings had fused into his fist technique, and not only had it not destroyed the sharpness of his fist, but it had also become even more refined. He punched out soundlessly, exploding out at the critical moment. It was fine if he didn't move, but once he did, it would shake the heavens and earth. In other words, his understanding of martial arts and divine abilities had reached a whole new level. Master is too strong. He's actually training himself in the tribulation, and he's even getting stronger. What a monster! The green ox was completely convinced. He was full of admiration. Even his old master could not be compared to such a monster. This was a genius that had never been seen since ancient times. After all, it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to pass the Yellow Springs tribulation waters. Now, his master was using the power of the Yellow Springs tribulation waters to train his body, taking the power for himself, and fusing it into the profoundness of his fist technique. This was unimaginable. Xia Ping looked up. When the Yellow Springs tribulation waters quickly receded, the second tribulation came right after. It didn't stop at all. Whoosh, in an instant, boundless flames flew out from the depths of the tribulation wormhole. Thousands of flames, bright red like blood, turned into vermilion birds that screeched at the sky. Their cries seemed to tear the world apart, causing countless cracks to appear in the void. This was the vermilion bird tribulation fire. Without a doubt, this was another terrifying great tribulation. The terrifying flames that came from the vermilion birds were the most terrifying supreme tribulation in the world. They represented an auspiciousness. These flames even contained the characteristics of the vermilion birds. They grew endlessly and regenerated continuously. Once they came into contact with the flesh and blood of living beings, they wouldn't stop until their bodies and souls were completely burned. Even immortal saints couldn't resist the vermilion bird tribulation fire. This was because the immortal saint's characteristic of regenerating continuously was useless before the vermilion bird tribulation fire. Even if they could regenerate continuously, the vermilion bird tribulation fire could incessantly burn them to ashes. There was once an immortal saint who encountered the vermilion bird tribulation fire. Relying on the immortal saint's characteristic, he resisted the vermilion bird tribulation fire for 100 million years, but he still couldn't break free. Burn, regenerate, burn again, regenerate again. It was endless and endless. In the end, the immortal saint couldn't bear the eternal torture and committed suicide. Chapter 2186. Haha, so what if he blocked the Yellow Springs calamity water? This time, he definitely won't be able to block the Vermilion Bird calamity fire. This is a heavenly flame. It won't be extinguished until it burns this human to death. The Fae was extremely excited when it saw the Vermilion Bird calamity fire. It felt that this despicable human wouldn't be able to block the Vermilion Bird calamity fire. The other primordial species couldn't help but nod. They felt that this made sense. Everyone knew how terrifying the Vermilion Bird calamity fire was. Even immortal saints couldn't block it. Rumble, in the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of Vermilion Bird calamity fire shot over, turning the surrounding thousands of light years into a boundless domain of fire. It seemed like this place was going to be incinerated completely. Xiaoping stood in the center of this domain of fire, not moving at all. The Vermilion Bird calamity fire seemed to have its own will. It burrowed into his body, into his limbs and meridians, trying to burn his body into ashes. Sun furnace. Xiaoping was fearless. He circulated his martial arts, and a sun furnace appeared in the depths of his dantian. Countless supreme scriptures appeared on it, creating a terrifying suction force. With his body as the center, a terrifying whirlpool formed. Countless Vermilion Bird calamity fire surged into his body, entering his dantian and the depths of his sun furnace. Walala! In the next second, the sun furnace began to revolve. The enormous Vermilion Bird calamity fire was instantly refined. Impurities were expelled, leaving behind only pure fire energy that fused into Xiaoping's limbs and meridians. Suddenly, he felt the magic power in his body rise steadily. Even the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body was strengthened, because he had obtained the Vermilion Bird tribulation fire. Strands of the Vermilion Bird calamity fire's power fused into the depths of his bloodline. Impossible! Seeing this, the Fae couldn't help but scream. This is the famous Vermilion Bird calamity fire. This bastard actually swallowed it and left nothing behind. What is his body made of? Why can't the Vermilion Bird calamity fire burn him to death? Let alone the Fae. Even the other primordial species couldn't believe their eyes. The famous Vermilion Bird calamity fire was enough to make even immortal saints tremble in fear. However, this despicable human had actually swallowed the flames whole. If even the Vermilion Bird tribulation fire couldn't kill this human, then what else could? How can it burn the master to death? Isn't that a joke? Hearing this, the green ox immediately smiled. It knew how terrifying its master's physique was. He could easily tame all kinds of strange flames in the universe. If there was a tribulation of the four symbols that was the easiest to overcome, then it would be the Vermilion Bird tribulation fire. This wasn't a tribulation, but rather a rations for its master. Devour. However, no matter how shocked these primordial remnant beasts were, Xiaoping continued to devour the Vermilion Bird tribulation fire in an orderly manner, taking the enormous flame energy for himself and fusing it into the depths of his bloodline. An hour later, the energy of the Vermilion Bird tribulation flame had also completely dissipated. It had been completely devoured by him, leaving not a single drop behind. He felt that the energy in his body had reached an unprecedented level. Don't worry. There's still a third tribulation, the Heavenly Demon Calamity Earth. The Heavenly Demon Calamity Earth is the most mysterious and unpredictable, even scarier than the Vermilion Bird calamity fire. This time, we'll definitely be able to destroy this human. The Fae couldn't help but shout. It was still very unwilling. Whoosh, whoosh at this moment. An even more violent tribulation of the world erupted with Xiaoping's body as the center. Within a range of several tens of thousands of light years, a cloud of black clouds that covered the entire star sector surged out from the depths of the void. This cloud of black clouds was heavy, and each wisp of its aura contained the might of a star. It contained boundless might, and as it surged, it seemed as if millions of stars were crashing down at the same time. Even demons from the abyss would be crushed into horrifying meat paste by the black demonic aura in an instant, if they encountered the aura of this black demonic cloud. Not even their corpses would be left. Bang, bang, bang. The Heavenly Demon Calamity Earth crashed down from the void, almost drowning everything. The place where it appeared was like the end of the world. Countless stars were forcefully crushed into dust, turning into cosmic dust. Xiaoping was in the depths of this cloud of tribulation. He was bombarded by countless black clouds and crushed fiercely. His body felt as if it was being bombarded by millions of planets, and he suffered endless impacts. Heavens, this is the tribulation from the abyss world, the heavenly demon calamity earth. An archaic descendant was incomparably shocked. This is too terrifying. How can we resist such a calamity? A strand of black luck is like the weight of a star. A cloud of chi bombarding down is like thousands of falling stars. How can we resist this? Even the starry sky mammoth, which has the strongest body of a primordial species, can't withstand it. It will be smashed into meat paste in an instant. Indeed, such a tribulation is like the end of the world, even in the abyss world. Once it appears, countless demons in the abyss will die. Many primordial species could not help but nod. They all admitted that such a tribulation was quite terrifying. It wasn't something ordinary people could withstand. If they were in it, they would definitely be smashed into meat paste in an instant. If a wisp of this aura descended, it would be enough to severely injure a lightning tribulation realm powerhouse. Bullshit. Terrifying my ass. Do you see that monster? He's completely fine. He's still standing in the heavenly demon calamity earth, as if I'm giving him a massage. It's completely useless. The Fae pointed to the front and cursed. It gritted its teeth, and was very unwilling to accept it. At this moment, Xiaoping stood in the middle of the heavenly demon calamity earth. He stood with his hands behind his back. Layers of spatial barriers surged out of his body. He circulated the North Sea protection technique, as if there was a world protecting his body. Countless heavenly demon calamity earth fell like falling stars. However, when it hit the surface, it only made banging sounds. It was unable to break through his body's defense. Instead, because of the tempering of the heavenly demon calamity earth, his body became even more perfect. Many primordial species were speechless. They did not know what to say at all. Even a primordial species like the starry sky mammoth could be easily smashed to death. However, in front of this human, it was like a massage. This was too exaggerated. They did not know how to describe such a scene. Don't compare yourself with this monster. There's no way to compare at all. The crow demon bird said helplessly. Hearing this, the Fae became even more furious. But there was nothing it could do. The fourth tribulation is coming. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. His expression turned solemn, because the fourth tribulation, which was also the final tribulation, the nine-hell calamity wind was coming. This was a terrifying storm that came from the nine-hell abyss. Its power was even more terrifying than the previous three tribulations combined. Even the immortal demons would tremble in fear when they encountered the nine-hell calamity wind. They would wish that their parents could give them more legs. Chapter 2187. It's about to begin. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. The tribulation of the four symbols: water, fire, earth, and wind. He had already gone through three great tribulations: Yellow Springs Tribulation Water, Vermilion Bird Tribulation Fire, and Sky Demon Tribulation Earth. And the final nine-hell tribulation wind was about to descend. These four tribulations represented the four elements that made up the entire universe, and represented the fundamental power of the universe. As long as he could withstand the nine serenities tribulation wind, he would be able to advance to the sempiternal realm, transcending mortality and entering sainthood. He would truly be able to transcend the mortal realm and become an ageless existence. Huff! Just then, a terrifying hurricane came from the depths of the lightning tribulation wormhole. Originally, there was no wind in the vacuum of the universe, but endless air currents gushed out from the depths of the wormhole, turning everything into a tempest. Such a tempest swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands, covering the entire star region. Any living being within the range of the tempest would find it hard to escape, and all matter would be melted in the depths of the tempest. The 9 hell tribulation wind was a terrifying air current that came from the 9 hells. It contained the power of the 9 hell, and could bring everything in this world down to hell, destroying it completely. Nothing would exist. Too violent. Seeing this, the green ox was shocked. The 9 hell tribulation wind had clearly not started, but the depths of the wormhole were already filled with destructive waves that were incomparably ferocious. One planet after another was blown by the 9 hell tribulation wind, turning into dust in an instant. No matter what it was, nothing could stand against the 9 hell tribulation wind. This was the wind of apocalypse. Originally, there were many primitive planets in this star region, and all sorts of meteorites. It only set off boundless waves, but when the 9 hell tribulation wind cause any damage to the ocean, the starry sky was reduced to nothingness, who has advanced to the peak of thunder tribulation, has cultivated the dark north body protection the 9 hell tribulation unimaginable realm, creating countless wind blades, the power of a terrifying black hurricane swept over, attack power, bombarding Xiaoping's body in a frenzy. Every hurricane was like a wind blade situation, bombarding the heavenly tribulation was thoroughly as if he was being sliced by a thousand wormholes were enraged. Dark north protection and the 9 underworlds tribulation was blowing from the depths of the dimension. The dark north protection technique fierce, and a huge ocean surged out from his body, covering millions of kilometers. Dragons, countless black dragons formed from the 9 serenities tribulation wind. This azure barrier could stretch and contract at will like rubber. Tens of thousands of terrifying defensive power. Dragons and could greatly charged out the force of impact. Of the wormhole. Countless wind blades and spitting out destructive storms, but it was as if they were bombarding to destroy the ocean. All existences that attempted to defy the heavenly tribulation. Damn, that's too scary. When the many primordial species saw this, they were all terrified. The appearance of such netherworld black dragons was like a world-destroying dragon, destroying everything. Wherever they went, living beings would be plunged into misery and suffering. Even if they stayed in the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, they didn't feel safe at all. It was as if the terrifying sound waves would seep into the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers at any time and place. The slightest vibration of such a sound wave was enough to shatter them into a pile of residue and turn them into ashes. We're in danger now. The green ox's expression was solemn. He could sense that the most dangerous moment of the 9 serenities tribulation wind had arrived. If he couldn't block it, he would probably be turned into ashes in an instant. Good timing. Xiaoping opened his eyes, revealing a terrifying cold gleam. He opened his mouth and inhaled. Rumble. The 9 serenities tribulation wind within a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers was swallowed into his stomach. Even the netherworld black dragons were no exception, immediately entering the depths of the solar furnace. Instantly, the heavens and earth shook. Energy surged, tides surged, and the universe was reversed. Bang, bang, bang. The 9 serenities tribulation wind within Xiaoping's body clashed unceasingly in the depths of the solar furnace. It was like countless blades slashing out, producing a terrifying destructive force. However, under the suppression of the solar furnace, it was all useless. After a few breaths of time, the 9 serenities tribulation wind was rapidly devoured and converted into pure energy. Fuck this monster. It's one thing for the vermilion bird tribulation fire to devour the 9 serenities tribulation wind earlier. But now, he's even devouring the 9 serenities tribulation wind? Is he even human? The many primordial species were dumbfounded. Right now, they completely didn't know what they should say. This scene was simply too terrifying. Die! Xiaoping stepped out and blasted out a palm towards the heaven tribulation wormhole. Instantly, a myriad of transformations appeared, containing boundless transformations. It was like the gigantic palm of a fiend god, creating the world and caressing the universe. The power of this palm exuded boundless killing intent, erupting forth with a terrifying might, as though it possessed the strength and will of all living beings. Boom! The gigantic palm ruthlessly slammed into the center of the tempest, instantly destroying the 9 serenities tribulation wind. Countless amounts of tribulation wind exploded and dissipated, turning into balls of energy. The starry skies that span billions of miles seemed to have collapsed at this moment. Countless tempests exploded, sweeping through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The power of this palm was incomparably tyrannical, containing a supreme attack that could twist the heavens and earth, reversing yin and yang. Devour. Xiaoping was incomparably tyrannical. His hands formed seals, and with his body as the center, a gigantic black vortex appeared. The energy of heaven and earth that was dissipating was instantly devoured by him, entering his body and becoming his own. Boom! At this instant, the entire heaven tribulation wormhole was destroyed. All the energy of the heavenly tribulation dissipated at this moment. Boohoo! The heaven tribulation wormhole was extremely unwilling to accept this. Whining sounds rang out, as though it wanted to connect to the Nine Serenities hell and guide the even more terrifying Nine Serenities tribulation wind over, wanting to destroy this person who was trying to defy the heavens. Sadly, no matter how unwilling it was, all the energy of the heavenly tribulation had already dissipated and could no longer be condensed. One by one, the heaven tribulation wormholes disappeared, rapidly being filled up by the laws of the universe. The tribulation clouds that had originally enveloped the entire star region also rapidly merged into the depths of the dimension, returning to the origin of the universe. At this moment, Xiaoping also sensed that his soul had been sublimated. Faintly, his soul had jumped out of the river of fate, instantly communicating with the origin of the universe. Boom! In an instant, a gigantic bronze gate appeared in the depths of the void, as though it was the gate of the world. Countless laws condensed, communicating with the origin of the universe. This was the greatest reward that the laws of the universe gave to extraordinary beings who had passed the heavenly tribulation. It was an eternal opportunity. Chapter 2188. Immediately, the bronze door opened. Inside was a dusky world. It was the endless primordial chaos that came from the depths of the universe's origin, containing the endless mysteries of the universe. Rumble! When the bronze door opened, the universe's universal laws, origin energy, endless yuan qi, and the mysteries of the world rushed out like a tsunami. This enormous energy, information, and universal laws fell like stars, pouring down crazily. It could be said that this range affected the entire star field. It was several times more terrifying than when Gaia reached immortal. Are you kidding me? How can the scene of reaching immortal be so scary? How can the reward be so much? Faye gawked. It had seen an elder of its tribe reach immortal. However, at that time, he opened the bronze door and communicated with the universe's origin. The reward he got was not even 1/10,000th of what it was now. Rumor has it that when one reaches immortal, the universe's origin will reward them with more energy and universal laws. Crow Demon Bird clenched its fist. So some peerless monstrous geniuses will suppress their cultivation base and wait until their accumulation reaches the limit before advancing. That way, they will be able to establish a supreme Tao foundation, and the saint's road will be smooth. However, the more accumulation one has, the more terrifying the thunder tribulation will be. If he can't pass it, he'll die. It's a double-edged sword. If he isn't a monstrous genius and doesn't have endless confidence in himself, he won't dare to do this. An immemorial species sighed. Everybody knew that the more accumulation one had, the more benefits one would get from passing the thunder tribulation. However, the problem was that if he couldn't pass the thunder tribulation, he would die. Countless years of accumulation would be wasted. Normal cultivators were somewhat afraid of the thunder tribulation. They didn't have enough confidence, and their strength was just so. So as long as there was a chance to become a sage, they would do it immediately. They wouldn't have enough time to think and choose. Yeah, this four symbols tribulation is the strongest thunder tribulation. It's rarely seen since the ancient times. From the ancient times until now, no one could pass it. Even immortal sages would die under it. However, this human passed it and obtained endless benefits. From now on, this human will soar to the sky. Nobody can stop him. Many immemorial species sighed. They had given up the thought of running away from Xiaoping. In front of such a terrifying immortal sage, they had no chance to run. Crash! At that moment, Yuan Qi condensed from the universe origin, and information of the laws of the universe condensed into golden dragons that descended on Xiaoping's head. Then, this universe origin energy poured into the depths of Xiaoping's body, fusing into his 9 Dharma idols and 9 violet kingdom dimensions, passing through every cell in his body. In an instant, the power in his body increased crazily, rising endlessly. Then his soul and body completely merged into one. Boom! After an unknown period of time, Xiaoping sensed his soul continuously compressing, and compressing again. Finally, it condensed into a single point like a black hole. True spirit. Xiaoping immediately sensed that his soul had received the infusion of an enormous amount of cosmic origin energy, finally undergoing a heaven-shaking transformation and condensing into a true spirit state. Immediately, he sensed his soul fusing into the depths of every cell in his body. It was as if his soul was everywhere and had countless clones. An immortal aura emanated from his body. Previously, Xiaoping had only obtained a half-step immortal body by relying on a divine ability like blood rebirth. But now, he had truly transformed into an immortal body. Even if there was only one cell, one drop of blood, one strand of hair left in his body, he could absorb the infinite cosmic energy in the depths of the void and quickly regenerate. Now his lifespan was limitless, as long as heaven and earth existed. He had already surpassed mortals. The concept of lifespan had truly become immortal. If he wasn't killed by the enemy, he could live forever. Finally, I've reached the immortal realm. Xiaoping was extremely emotional. He didn't know how many hardships he had experienced, how many slaughters he had gone through, how many treasures he had devoured, and now, he had finally reached the sage realm. Although it was only the first stage of the sage realm, it represented a transformation. It represented transcendence and sainthood. And it represented that he stood at the peak of the universe's combat power. Crash, however, the rewards from the universe origin hadn't stopped yet. Enormous amounts of universal laws of the universe poured out of the bronze gate, as if they were free, crazily pouring into Xiaoping's sea of consciousness. He didn't miss this opportunity, because there wouldn't be many opportunities like this to obtain so much universal laws of the universe. If he missed this reward from the universe origin, he didn't know how long it would take to make up for such a loss. It could be said that this was the most important foundation for laying down the path of the sage. Xiaoping's heart moved. After receiving the reward from the universal laws of the universe, he felt that his 9 heaven and earth laws, as well as countless magical powers he possessed, had been promoted and undergone a huge transformation. His pure Yang immortal technique, Yang God Fist, and so on first underwent a transformation and completely erupted. Terrifying flames burned like the sun, shining through the ages. Every wisp of flame contained immortal characteristics. When it fell, it would burn the world and turn into an endless sea of fire. Moreover, it would burn forever and would never be extinguished. The great yin-yang tablet smashing hand evolved into a huge yin-yang wheel. Endless power of yin and yang gathered between heaven and earth. Yin and yang transformed endlessly, as if it already had the power to reverse the 5 elements and shape the world. Vaguely, a big black and white hand seemed to be holding a world. It contained the power of yin and yang and the 5 elements, exuding endless vitality, and the changes between life and death. The Azure Dharch longevity technique seemed to have turned into a supreme holy tree, high up in the sky, like the tree of the world. It became the emperor of trees, commanding all plant life, and the surroundings were filled with vitality. Wisps of green aura spread out, causing countless plants to grow crazily and increase their lifespan. The chaotic thunder technique, a huge thunder pool appeared. Countless kinds of divine thunder gathered between heaven and earth. Indistinctly, countless thunder runes formed, as if they had turned into thunder gods. Every bolt of thunder contained a terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. The Star Guide art, a profound and mysterious book of stars appeared, absorbing billions of stars. The stars formed one star formation after another, emitting endless blue starlight. Apart from that, all the other magical powers had been greatly promoted, as if they had been reborn. Chapter 2189. 7 days and 7 nights passed in an instant. The bronze gate connecting to the origin of the universe was still there. Endless origin energy of the universe poured down, as if it was free. It was like the collapse of a star, a landslide, or a tsunami. Freak, truly freak. How much origin energy did he receive as a reward? Seeing this scene, The Fae was so jealous that its intestines turned green. It felt that as long as it left the space of the mountain river Pearl and devoured a little bit of origin energy, its cultivation would immediately advance by leaps and bounds. It would advance to the peak of thunder tribulation and even reach the immortal realm. Unfortunately, it could only watch but not touch it. This was the most painful thing in the world. A pile of money casually thrown on the ground, and yet unable to pick it up. It was too painful. This is simply unimaginable. Even the most talented monster among us primordial species did not receive such a huge reward from the origin of the universe. Even Gaia's advancement was not as good as this. Receiving so much information of the universe's laws, he could immediately establish the strongest foundation. In the future, comprehending the laws of the universe would simply be twice the result with half the effort. His progress would be godly. Immortal Sage is definitely not the end of this human. He might even advance to the invincible Sage realm and become a peerless overlord of the universe. Many primordial species could not imagine how far Xiaoping would grow after receiving so many rewards from the origin of the universe. This was already beyond their imagination. Now they could not say anything. They could only feel envy and jealousy. Haha, the feeling of hugging someone's thighs is awesome. I don't need to work hard at all. I just need to follow behind. The life of a salted fish is awesome. At this time, Taotai Dream Lu also secretly ran out from the space of the mountain river Pearl. She greedily absorbed the origin energy of the universe, feeling very comfortable. Although she had only devoured it for 7 days, it was comparable to the result of her million years of cultivation. It was like a person who started from scratch, worked tirelessly, relied on luck, all kinds of coincidences, and fought against each other to earn a fortune of billions. But now, when she woke up, she found out that a local tycoon had died and inherited his fortune of billions. This was simply a pie falling from the sky. She had obtained endless benefits, and after devouring the energy this time, her cultivation suddenly advanced to the peak of thunder tribulation realm. She was just one step away from truly stepping into the immortal realm. It could be said that her current cultivation speed could be considered to be one of the best in the Taotai clan. Faithful Prince Regent, don't think that you're so great just because your cultivation base has increased. I'm going to steal from you and take advantage of you. Just you wait, I'll definitely surpass you. Chong Xiaoqian also sneaked out. Her face was filled with bliss as she devoured the cosmic origin energy in the surroundings. This was extremely beneficial to her growth. In just a few days, she had raised her cultivation to the early stage of the thunder tribulation realm. Although she was very unhappy with this hateful regent, she did not hesitate to do it when there was a chance. Nothing was better than cheating to gain benefits. However, Dumbo Gaia was not there. She was still in a deep sleep. She did not need this kind of energy. She could communicate with the energy of the origin of the universe anytime and anywhere. As for Luna, she was currently fighting and slaughtering in hell. As far as she was concerned, as long as she could slaughter and kill, she would be able to rise through the ranks and use the corpses of countless people to forge her throne. Of course, the one who benefited the most was naturally Xiaoping. A huge amount of cosmic origin energy poured down, almost filling every corner of the entire star region where planet Yanhuang was located. Every cell in his body was greedily devouring this cosmic origin energy to make up for the lack of energy in his body. All of a sudden, his body was filled with a huge amount of magic power, which almost shook the void. Every cell was like a star. When he punched out, it was as if billions of stars were dancing. It could be said that the reward of the cosmic origin energy had saved him billions of years of hard cultivation. The one who benefited the most was the world tree in the depths of his sea of consciousness. It sensed Xiaoping's advancement, and every branch and root on its body was cheering. It also took the opportunity to communicate with the cosmic origin. The roots of the world tree pierced into the void and penetrated everywhere. They were like straws, constantly wriggling and devouring, obtaining a huge amount of cosmic origin energy. This also caused the world tree's body to rapidly expand. Its body and its power had all expanded more than 10 times than before. It had undergone a huge transformation. Vaguely, dense mysterious runes appeared on the countless leaves on its body. It seemed that the world tree had also awakened many magical powers, and slowly recovered a trace of the supreme elegance of the world tree. Next, the one who benefited the most was Xiaoping's natal magic treasure, the Bell of Chaos. Because the magic treasure tribulation was mixed with the thunder tribulation, Xiaoping also helped it survive. After the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, and the reward from the cosmic origin, the Bell of Chaos immediately underwent a huge transformation. It devoured countless information of the laws of the universe, which also laid a solid foundation for it. If someone saw the Bell of Chaos now, they would immediately sense that dense information of the laws had appeared on the surface of the Bell of Chaos. It had obtained countless laws of the universe, as if it was a connate magic treasure born from the universe. At this moment, it had already advanced to the peak of a low-grade sacred artifact. It seemed that it was only one step away from advancing to a middle-grade sacred artifact. Although these accumulations would not appear for a while, with the passage of time, the Bell of Chaos would definitely become the fastest-growing magic treasure. I finally advanced to the sempiternal realm. Xiaoping clenched his fists tightly, and a terrifying light shone in his eyes. His entire body had undergone a complete transformation, and his 9 great Dharma idols had completely merged with his body, becoming one with no distinction between them. This was the sempiternal realm, the fusion of spirit and body. At this moment, every single cell in his body was trembling like a star. Every single pore of his was radiating golden light. A casual punch from him could cause space to tremble, and the earth to tremble. A casual breath from him could form an energy storm. Vast amounts of origin energy would be transmitted to him from the depths of the void. It was as if he was the son of a god. Many of my golden crow hell cells have awakened too. Xiaoping was overjoyed. Advancing to the sempiternal realm, and receiving the reward from the cosmic origin energy, had also caused the golden crow hell cells in his body to awaken rapidly. Currently, he had awakened a total of 7 billion golden crow hell cells. He was only 3 billion away from reaching 10 billion. Moreover, this seemed to have broken through a certain bottleneck, and found an opportunity to evolve. The golden crow hell cells in his body were constantly awakening and advancing, strengthening his body. It could be said that Xiaoping, who had advanced to the sempiternal realm, was more than 100 times stronger than before. Chapter 2190. My soul has become even stronger. Xiaoping could feel that his soul had transformed into a true spirit. The range of his divine sense had expanded tremendously. A single thought could cover a radius of 10 light years. It was many times stronger than before. His divine sense had become even more concealed. It had merged with the void and transcended everything. Those who were not sages would not be able to sense the scan of divine sense. This was a soul ripple of a higher level. It was like a power from a different dimension. No, it's not as simple as my soul becoming stronger. Xiaoping's eyes flashed coldly. He could feel his spiritual ripple spreading out, covering a radius of 10 light years. These invisible spiritual ripples gathered together and formed a domain. This was a spiritual domain. I see. At this moment he was enlightened. Immortal sages had an innate suppressive effect on mortals. A single glance from them could suppress a large number of mortals. It did not matter how many people there were. After condensing a true spirit, it would turn into a true spiritual domain. With a single thought, this domain would envelop everything, and one's strength would be reduced by 30%. Moreover, due to the spiritual domain, it could envelop everything. Thus, no mortals could sense the spiritual ripples of an immortal sage. In fact, no technological means could detect an immortal sage. Usually, an immortal sage would be like a black hole, forming a domain that blocked all technological means. Any electromagnetic ripples would be repelled. Of course, there were differences between strong and weak spiritual domains. If one's strength was strong enough, the spiritual domain would not be able to suppress them. That was what happened to Xiaoping previously. He used brute force to destroy everything. Even if those immortal sages used their spiritual domains to suppress him, it was like a light breeze to Xiaoping. He did not feel anything special. Congratulations, Master. You've finally become an immortal sage. At this moment, the green ox appeared in front of Xia Ping. It was extremely excited. After waiting for so long, its master had finally become an immortal sage. Only by truly becoming an immortal sage would one be able to control one's own life. After all, no matter how strong one's combat power was, one's lifespan would still come to an end. After becoming an immortal, one would no longer be troubled by lifespan. I wonder if my current strength is enough to fight against a sage from near ancient times? Xia Ping asked curiously, as he looked at the green ox. He felt that the green ox should know the true power of the near ancient saints. After all, the previous owner of the green ox was also a saint, but he did not know how powerful the mountain river saint was. I've never seen Master use his full strength, so I can't really judge Master's current combat power. But don't underestimate the near ancient saints. The azure ox said solemnly, even though near ancient saints and undying saints are only one realm apart, the difference is like heaven and earth. They can't be mentioned in the same breath at all. If you want to become a near ancient saint, you have to understand the law of space. Once you understand the law of space, you will be able to transform your spiritual realm into something like a paradise. This is a space realm that can affect the laws of the universe. At this point, the green ox's expression became solemn. If a near ancient saint is in his own space realm, he will be invincible, and so close yet worlds apart. Undying saints will not be able to do anything to him, and even his own strength will be greatly suppressed in the space realm. More terrifyingly, after understanding the law of space, the body of a near ancient saint will also undergo a great transformation. Every cell in the body will become an independent miniature space. These independent spaces can contain thousands of times more magic power. So just the magic power of a near ancient saint is enough to tear apart any undying saint. I see. Xia Ping's eyes flashed coldly. No wonder there was such a huge difference in strength between a near ancient saint and an undying saint. They were no longer on the same level. It could be said that there was a huge difference between every realm of a saint and the previous one. If they were mortals, perhaps ordinary monsters could still challenge those of a higher realm. But after reaching the saint realm, it was almost impossible to challenge those of a higher realm. The difference of one realm represented an absolute and insurmountable gap. Plus, it's extremely difficult for an undying saint to become a near ancient saint. The green ox said in a low voice. It indicated that since the birth of the universe, from the ancient times until now, there have been many undying saints. If there were 10,000 undying saints, then those who could comprehend the spatial laws and become near ancient saints wouldn't exceed 10. Sometimes, not everything could be done with an infinite lifespan. If the opportunity was not there, and the comprehension was not enough, one would be forever trapped in this realm, unable to advance. Some undying saints could not stand being stuck in this realm, so they chose to enter all sorts of secret realms to adventure and obtain opportunities. But in the end, not even 1 out of 100 survived. What about Middle Ancient Saints? What do I need to understand to become a Middle Ancient Saint? Xia Ping asked. He wanted to take this opportunity to learn more about the Saint realm. It would be very beneficial for his future cultivation. At least, he would have something to refer to here. At this time, the green ox did not hide anymore. After all, Xia Ping had become an undying saint and gained an infinite lifespan. He had the right to know about this. The green ox did not say anything before, because it was worried that Xia Ping would bite off more than he could chew. Knowing that these things were not very useful, but now Xia Ping had enough strength. It said in a low voice, if you want to become a Middle Ancient Saint, you have to understand the law of time. This way, you can freely adjust the flow of time in your own space comprehension. Some stronger Middle Ancient Saints could even challenge the flow of time in their body and the outside world to a ratio of 100 to 1. Often, 100 years in their domain would only be 1 year in the outside world. Of course, this is only to control the flow of time within one's own space domain. To control the flow of time in the entire universe, not to mention the sages of the Middle Ages, even the invincible sages, and the legendary deities couldn't do it. The Greenox said that even if they could not control the flow of time in the entire universe, some stronger Middle Ancient saints could even see some fragments of space-time in a certain place through the river of time. Therefore, once targeted by Middle Ancient saints, it was almost impossible to escape. This also allowed Middle Ancient saints to obtain many secrets and know all sorts of information in the universe. They can actually control the law of time. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of cold light. He finally understood how terrifying the Middle Ancient saints were. Even if they could only control the law of time within their own domain, it was enough to raise the combat power of Middle Ancient saints to a terrifying level. Please remember this book's domain name. Chapter 2191. The Saints of the Middle Ages were too powerful. Xiaoping finally understood why the gap between each realm of the saints was so huge and insurmountable. It was almost impossible to challenge someone of a higher realm. That was because a difference of one realm represented an earth-shattering transformation, and one's combat power would increase by more than 1,000 times. If he encountered the saints of the Middle Ages now, there would only be one outcome: death. After all, if he was controlled by the laws of time, it would be useless no matter what method he used. He could only watch as he died. He's indeed very powerful. The Greenox could not help but nod. What about the saints of the ancient past? How powerful were they? Xiaoping continued to ask. The saints of the ancient past are even more monstrous. My old master, the Mountain River Saint, was in the realm of the saints of the ancient past. With such strength, he could be considered an expert even among the saints. There were few who could match him. The Greenox's tone had a hint of pride. Ancient past. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He now knew the true strength of the Mountain River Saint. Previously, his master, the Multi-Star Saint, was far from being comparable to the Mountain River Saint. This could not be helped. The Multi-Star Saint was too unlucky. He was still young, and before he could advance to a higher realm, he was killed by another saint. In fact, this was a very normal thing in the universe. Not all geniuses could continue to grow. When they grew to become an ultimate existence, sometimes an unexpected factor would die. If one didn't have the opportunity, there was nothing more to say. They would be trapped in this realm forever, continued, unable to break through. If you want to advance to the ancient past, the Mountain River Saint did not wait for the opportunity to break this realm. Primordial Saint you will be able to understand the secrets in the invasion of the Abyss world. Within your own domain, these words, you can change the state of life at will. He had a rough understanding of the sage realm. You can turn a primordial species into a cat or a worm, Xiaoping sensed that the entire star field seemed to have undergone an incredible change. You can even turn stone into gold. Where planet Yanhuang was located, this realm had attracted you are no different from the tribulation because of his tribulation. You have truly grasped the power of creation-like disaster. Changed the state of life and planets and meteorites were shattered. Body trembled, turning into cosmic dust. Although he knew that the ancient surroundings became extremely terrifying. However, he did not expect them to be so powerful. The cosmic dust floating in this star domain, terrifying, under the guidance strange of the universe's origin, beyond the understanding of mortals, rapidly condensed such an existence into a boundless said to be a god. One after another, would dare to say the otherwise. Laws of the universe were for the realm above the ancient saint realm, forming I don't know much either. It can't be back right. Then, even something like this actually happened. This realm. Xiaoping's eyes widened. He didn't even have any hope of breaking through. That spanned the entire star field was born under his eyes. That advancing to the even next realm required a large amount of time and opportunity into this new continent. When he was transcending the tribulation, all the humans on planet Yanhuang were teleported to the cloud continent temporarily. So there were no humans on planet Yanhuang now. At this moment, the entire Milky Way had undergone an earth-shaking change. Is this a naturally formed land world? Xiaoping sensed that the entire star field seemed to have turned into a vortex. Countless cosmic dust gathered together, and a large amount of dust condensed into a thick land. Countless universes' laws were instilled from the depths of the origin, forming the foundation of a world. Under normal circumstances, such a thing would not happen. Even if a planet was destroyed, it would still take hundreds of millions of years for another planet to be born. However, the area where the Milky Way was located was very unique. It was considered a closed star field, surrounded by space storms, and nothing could escape from this star field. What Xia Ping had experienced was the four symbols tribulation. It contained the four most basic elements of the universe: earth, water, wind, and fire. They were also the foundation to form a world. Moreover, he had advanced to the immortal stage and communicated with the origin of the universe. A large amount of origin energy and the universe's laws poured down as if they were free, filling the entire Milky Way. With all these coincidences, the power of the tribulation, and the origin energy, the universe's laws actually formed such a miracle. This continent will become a cultivation paradise. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes and sensed that this boundless land was rapidly taking shape, forming a complete world at a speed visible to the naked eye. A huge origin of the world was brewing in the depths of the land, and its area had already covered the entire Milky Way. It could be said that such a world could be considered a giant world, even in the central universe. Moreover, it was born from the four symbols tribulation. This would also make this world very special. Sometimes this was a tribulation, but after the tribulation was an opportunity, and after the doomsday was a new life. He could sense that the entire Milky Way was filled with the power of creation, life, and creation. Endless chaotic air currents flowed in this star field. Unbelievable. It seems like this star field is really blessed by the heavens. This was originally just an ordinary star field, but after such changes, it will become a cultivation paradise. It won't be much weaker than the worlds in the central universe, and it will also produce many universe-level resources. The Green Ox was also amazed. However, it will take at least 100 years for this world to form. Xia Ping could sense that this world was slowly taking shape. This would take a very long time. If he wanted people to live in it, it would take at least 100 years. 100 years is too short, the Green Ox said in a deep voice. For immortal sages, time no longer had any meaning. From now on, this world will be called Yanhuang World. Xia Ping decided on the name of this new world. This was the name he had inherited from planet Yanhuang. His eyes shone brightly. He felt that he was watching the birth of a new world and the circulation of various universes' laws. This would be greatly beneficial to his future cultivation. Chapter 2192. A few days later, Xia Ping had completely consolidated his sempiternal realm cultivation and integrated his skyrocketing power. He had finally ended his closed-door cultivation and had benefited a lot from it. He knew that the sempiternal realm was divided into 3 minor realms: primary, middle, and advanced. Right now, his cultivation should be at the primary level of the sempiternal realm. However, these 3 minor realms were only the difference in magic power and soul power. The difference between them was not very big. Anyone could advance to the advanced level of the sempiternal realm, as long as they had enough time to cultivate. However, in terms of combat power, he could defeat anyone in the sempiternal realm, and even fight with the sages of the ancient times. Whoosh! At this time, Xia Ping had also returned to the illusion realm's treasury from the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, and exchanged places with Corinne. Nothing major had happened in the past 10 days. It had been peaceful. In fact, no forces had come to attack the illusion realm. It was as if nothing had happened. However, he also knew that this must be the calm before the storm, and such peace could not last for too long. Corinne, is there any news from the human race recently? Xia Ping asked. He knew that if the human race wanted to attack the illusion race, it would be impossible for them to keep quiet. If there were any clues, they should be able to detect it. There is no particularly big news. Speaking of which, there is really one. Recently, it seems that the patriarch of the human race plans to hold a Sage Dao discussion conference and invited the sages of all races to participate. This matter has caused a lot of commotion and has spread to many races in the universe. Many sages plan to participate. Corinne remembered this matter. Dao discussion conference? Yes, it is a very smart move. This is a covert strategy. Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes suddenly lit up. If the human race acted secretly, the illusion race, who had extremely good intelligence, would definitely find out something fishy. However, if they acted with great fanfare, this was an overt plot. and the illusion race would not be vigilant. Because a Sage Dao discussion conference like this was rare, but it was not non-existent. The sages of the illusion race would not think that there was anything wrong with this matter. After all, they would never have thought that the human race would use this Dao discussion conference as an excuse to secretly mobilize their forces to attack the illusion realm. If this matter wasn't orchestrated by him, he probably wouldn't have thought so much about it. He would have thought that it was just an ordinary Dao discussion and wouldn't have thought of other aspects. It was likely that the sages of the various races who were attracted here would not have thought of this. Clearly, the higher-ups of the human race were deceiving even their own people. Only the core higher-ups would know about this plan. When will the Dao discussion conference be held? Xiaoping asked. It will be held in 3 days. Corin replied. 3 days later? Looks like I'll be able to leave this place very soon. This time, I must seize the opportunity to make a killing. Xiaoping was certain that the Dao discussion would be held in 3 days, so the human race's attack might be 3 days later. Even if it was a little later, it wouldn't be too long. At the thought of this, he immediately cultivated with peace of mind and waited for the human race to attack the illusion realm. At this time, outside the courtyard where Xiaoping lived, a few sneaky figures appeared. Their faces were gloomy as they stared at the tightly shut door, unwilling to give up. Damn it, what's going on with this Barty? He's been cultivating in the courtyard for more than 10 days, but he hasn't come out even once. Does he like to cultivate so much? Doesn't he need to rest? Doesn't he know what it means to strike a balance between work and rest? One of the figures was very unwilling, gnashing his teeth. Yeah, I originally wanted to find an opportunity to deal with this Barty and kill him, but I didn't expect that bastard to not give us any chance at all. If this continues, we won't be able to complete our mission at all. When the time comes, we'll incur Saint Minerva's wrath, and all of us will be executed. Another voice also sounded. Clearly, he was from the Leinster family. No, we can't continue like this. If he stays in the outer hall of the treasury, we won't be able to find an opportunity to attack him. There's a powerful restrictive formation here. Any movement will be discovered by the guards here. When the time comes, we'll die without a burial place. Yeah, we can't carry out assassinations here. When the time comes, not only will we not be able to kill Barty, but our identities will also be exposed and will be executed by the guards here. But this won't do, and that won't do. Are we just going to watch this bastard roam free in this treasury? The few figures discussed and gritted their teeth, but they couldn't find any way to deal with Xiaoping. No, perhaps there's a way, but we'll have to pay a huge price. Someone suddenly said. What way? Let's hear it. No matter what the price is, it doesn't matter. The others said in a low voice. I heard that the deputy of the treasury's outer hall, Fane, is a very greedy immortal saint. If we pay the price, perhaps we can ask him to kill that Barty. That person said. What? The few of them were shocked. They finally knew what the huge price was. If they asked an immortal saint to take action, they wouldn't be able to move the immortal saint if they didn't take out enough treasures. Although the price is high, I think it's all worth it. If Deputy Temple Master Finn had taken action, he could have killed Barty within the scope of the rules. Moreover, he could have gotten all of us out of this mess. That person glanced at the others. The few of them glanced at each other and saw the determination in each other's eyes. You're right. If we ask Deputy Fane to take action, killing Barty will be as easy as flipping a hand. Although the price of asking an immortal saint to take action is huge, if we go against the ancestors' orders, then the price will be even bigger. All of us will die. There's no other way. It's all that bitch Barty's fault. He caused so much trouble for us and brought shame to the Lannister family. This guy must die. Otherwise, where will our family's dignity go? So be it. Fortunately, we destroyed a few human kingdoms and obtained a lot of treasures. We can give them to Fane as a gift. I believe with so many treasures in hand, Fane won't refuse. The few Lannister family members discussed. Their hearts ached. They felt that giving away so many treasures was like someone was cutting off their flesh. The pain was unbearable. However, in order to kill Barty, they had no other choice. Thinking of this, they hated Barty even more. They wanted nothing more than to cut him into pieces. Chapter 2193. 3 days later, Xiaoping was still cultivating peacefully in his courtyard, but the day was still peaceful. The Sage Discourse Conference organized by the human race had already begun, and it was in full swing. It was said that sages from various races from all over the universe had come. They also cherished this opportunity and wanted to exchange experiences with the invincible sages of the human race. This would be of great benefit to them. However, it seemed that the human race sages had no intention of doing anything. It was as if this was a normal Sage Discourse Conference. However, he also knew that this Sage Discourse Conference would be held for at least 10 days. Within these 10 days, the human race sages could attack at any time. As for when they would attack, probably only the higher-ups of the human race would know. Apart from them, no one else knew. The only thing he could do now was to wait. Anyway, he was very patient and did not care when the human race sages would attack. Dong dong dong. At this moment, someone knocked on the door outside the courtyard. It was very urgent, like a storm. Who is it? Xiaoping opened his eyes and spread out his divine sense. He immediately sensed that dozens of people had appeared outside his door. All of them were guards of the treasury's outer hall, and they surrounded him fiercely. One of them was the immortal sage. He knew this person as well. It was the deputy leader of the treasury's outer hall, Fane. He had a high position and could be considered the person in charge of this place. Usually, he would be cultivating in seclusion and would not appear where the guards were. Now that he had appeared with a group of guards, this was no small matter. Barty, come out immediately. Lord Fane is here, and you're still hiding in the courtyard. What a scandal. Do you know what respect is? A guard outside shouted fiercely. With a smack, Xiaoping walked out from inside and opened the door. Seeing this group of people, his expression was very calm. So it's Deputy Leader Fane. I wonder why you're here. He saw a middle-aged man in a blue robe appear in front of him. He was 2 meters tall and emitted a frightening aura. This was clearly Deputy Leader Fane. He could even feel a faint trace of malice from Fane. He had clearly come with ill intentions. Deputy Leader? Hearing this, Fane was very displeased. What he hated the most was people calling him Deputy Palace Master. Which ordinary person did not respectfully address him as Palace Master? Yet this brat did not know any manners at all. It was extremely irritating. However, he was an undying saint. He was extremely shrewd and wouldn't easily reveal his emotions. Why are you still asking? One of the guards said angrily. You new guards haven't even been here for 20 days, and we've already lost an important treasure in the outer hall of treasures. We suspect that it might be you new guards who stole this treasure. Now, we have been ordered to investigate the rooms of all your new guards to see which thief has the stolen treasures. If we find them, we will not let them off lightly. He told them where he had come from. An important treasure had been stolen from the outer palace's treasury, and now the entire outer palace was searching for it. The situation was extremely serious. It can't be me. Ever since I came to the outer palace, I've been staying in my room, cultivating in seclusion. I've never left. You've got the wrong person, Xiaoping said lightly. If you say you're not, then you're not. Which thief doesn't say the same? Also, you said you've been staying in your room. Who can prove this? The guard sneered. Cut the crap. Get out of the way, and let us search your room. If we can't find anything, we'll naturally prove your innocence. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Without waiting for Xiaoping to reply, dozens of guards rushed in. They didn't care whether Xiaoping agreed or not. Like bandits, they quickly barged into the courtyard. Rumble. This group of guards rummaged through the chests and cabinets like wolves and tigers. They were extremely violent, not caring if the things here were destroyed or not. They practically searched every corner of the courtyard. All of a sudden, a guard captain shouted, "Found it! The lost treasure, the water moon pearl is here." Sure enough, this Barty is the real thief. He entered the outer hall and stole the water moon pearl. It was unknown when he had taken out a fist-sized bead. The bead emitted a silvery white light, containing the dense power of moonlight and purine energy. Anyone could see that this pearl was not a simple treasure. It could be considered one of the rare treasures. If this water moon pearl was auctioned outside, it would be worth at least 300 million universe credits. Barty, you've got guts. How dare you steal from the Outer Palace's treasury and steal the water moon pearl? Now that we have a witness and material evidence, what else do you have to say? Confess immediately. When did you do this? I've already said this. Barty's hands and feet were not clean. One look and I knew he was a thief. Now that I see it, it seems so. You really can't change your ways. I've heard before that Barty is a dishonest person, often committing petty thievery and playing tricks. I didn't think that he would even dare to touch the treasures in the Outer Palace's treasury. How audacious of him to even dare to steal. What else is there to say? Immediately capture this thief, torture him, and throw him into the illusion's prison for 10,000 years. One by one, the guards shouted angrily. Their murderous intent was boiling. They seemed to be waiting for someone to give the order to tear Xiaoping apart. They spread out in every corner, not allowing Xiaoping to escape. I didn't steal it. This is a trap. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and said coldly, I saw this thing clearly. This kid took it out from his body and purposely placed it in my room. He pointed at the guard captain. Bullshit. You mean I've wronged you and purposely framed you? Who do you think you are to be framed by me? It just so happens that Master Fin is also here. No one can play any tricks in front of Master Fin. If I really framed you and took out the stolen goods, this kind of thing definitely can't be hidden from Master Fin. We can ask Master Fin to do justice and see who is lying. The guard captain grinned hideously. The other guards could not help but nod. No mortal could do anything in front of an immortal saint. If Sir Fin was the one to do justice, he would definitely be able to prove everyone's innocence. Sir Fin, please do me justice. The guard captain turned around and said respectfully to Fane. Yes, I saw the whole thing. This stolen item, the water moon bead, was indeed found in this place. It has nothing to do with anyone else, which means this Barty is the real thief. Hearing this, Fin nodded arrogantly, indicating that Xiaoping was the one who did it. There was no framing at all. It was all Xiaoping's lies. Chapter 2194. Did you hear that, Barty? What else do you have to say? What else do you have to say? After hearing these words, the guard captain was extremely excited. He pointed at Xiaoping and said, Even Lord Fane can testify for me. Both the witness and the material evidence are here. Do you still want to resist? Surrender immediately, or you will be charged even more. With the immortal Saint Fin backing him, he was full of confidence. If that's the case, then you're obviously trying to frame me? Deputy Palace Master Fine. I don't know how much you've received from them, but as a Deputy Palace Master, you should know what justice is. If the news of you framing Zhongliang is leaked out, Deputy Palace Master Fine, you won't be able to get away with it. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of killing intent. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to Lord Fin like this? Too daring. What kind of attitude is that? Do you have any respect for the immortal saint? You dare say that Lord Fin received money to deal with you? This is the biggest joke in the world. Who do you think you are to deserve Lord Fin to deal with you? A group of lackeys cursed. Loyal to their master, they directly came forward to bite. Whether you received money or not, you know best. If I'm not wrong, the person behind you should be from the Rinster family. Other than these dogs, no one would do such a despicable thing. Xiaoping said indifferently. What? Hearing this, the guards were half dead from anger. Their faces turned red. They were members of the Rinster family, and now they were being insulted by this kid. How could they endure it? Barty, you have guts. A returning truth aunt dares to speak to me in such a loud voice. At this time, the immortal Saint Fin sneered. However, you have violated the laws of the treasury. You are suspected of stealing the water moon pearl. This is a serious crime and cannot be forgiven. No matter how you argue, maliciously frame, or distort the truth, you cannot escape punishment. I won't waste any more words with you. You only have two choices now. The first is to surrender, and I'll cripple your cultivation. Then, I'll throw you into the black prison and lock you up for 10,000 years to pay for your sins. The second option is for you to resist stubbornly, and I will accidentally kill you. I heard that you are a member of the Lawrence family. I don't know if Sophia will avenge you after you die. You can try." His attitude was condescending, and it was obvious that he wanted to use his identity as an immortal saint to kill Xiaoping. This was because in the outer palace of the treasury, apart from Jonas, he was the highest authority. His words were the law, and his will was the rule. No one could defy him. "What should we do?" At this time, Corin transmitted his voice. He could feel the strong willpower of the immortal sage. Although he didn't know what benefits the Lannister family had given him, Fine clearly wanted to kill Xiaoping. No matter which path it was death. "It doesn't matter. At most, I'll give up my identity as Barty and kill this Fine with a single punch. When I was still in the lightning tribulation realm, no one dared to threaten me. Now that I've advanced to the immortal realm, why would I be afraid of this trash? What a joke." Xiaoping's expression turned cold. He could clearly sense Fine's strength. Compared to the many immortal sages he had encountered before, he was just an ordinary trash. Back when he was still in the lightning tribulation realm, he could already kill this trash with a single strike. Now that he had advanced to the immortal realm, his strength was more than 1,000 times stronger. His only worry was that after killing Fine, he might alarm the outer palace Lord Jonas and the many old monsters in the inner palace, provoking them to attack him. However, he wasn't worried about this. At most, he could use the faceless mask to escape quickly and return to the space of the Pearl of Mountain and River to hide temporarily. He would only reappear when the human race attacked the illusion race. He didn't have to worry about anything. This kid is still smiling? Could it be that he has some trump card? But no matter what trump card he has in my hands, only death awaits him. Fine was extremely arrogant. He looked down on such mortals. After advancing to the immortal sage level, they had an unlimited lifespan. Immortal bodies weren't something that mortals with short lives could compare to. Rumble at this moment, the entire world shook violently. A terrifying tremor spread throughout the entire illusion realm, covering every corner of the illusion realm. Even the outer palace of the treasure vault shook violently. Terrifying cracks appeared on the walls, as if the entire outer palace of the treasure vault was being torn apart. In the depths of the void, waves of terrifying aura spread over, suppressing the void. It was as if gods had descended into this world. The suffocating pressure made one unable to stand still. What's going on? Why is there such a tremor in the illusion realm? Fane was startled. He spread out his divine sense, and immediately sensed that the outside of the illusory boundary seemed to be surrounded by a terrifying invisible force, sealing off all directions. The surroundings were filled with densely packed void restrictions. Vaguely, countless auras of sages appeared outside the illusion realm. Dang! 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 At this moment, the entire illusion realm reverberated with the sound of a bell. The void shook, and the sound reached the ears of every member of the illusion race. "Oh no, this is the alarm. It's our illusion race's bell of extermination. This bell only rings when the illusion race is on the brink of death. Since the birth of the illusion race, it has only happened 3 times. This is the 4th time. It's over. We're completely done for. The enemy has discovered the illusion realm's location. Many sages have surrounded and attacked." The guards of the illusory clan were panic-stricken. Their bodies shivered uncontrollably. Hearing the bell of extermination, they were all uneasy. In their lives, they had never thought that they would have the chance to hear such a sound again. Damn it! How could this happen? How did the illusion realm's location leak out? We don't have any information. Who knows our location? Fine was shaking uncontrollably. Even as an immortal sage, facing such a situation, he felt that things weren't good. Being surrounded and attacked by so many sages was a disaster that could wipe out his race. He even knew some inside information about the illusion race's upper echelon. His race had colluded with the Abyss Demon. If this was leaked, they would all be hated by everyone. Sages were no exception. It's here. It's finally here. The human sages have finally decided to attack the illusion realm. This is great. It's just the right time. Hearing such a voice, Xiaoping was excited. He knew that the scene he had been waiting for was finally here. Chaos. Only when the illusion realm was in complete chaos would he have the chance to take advantage of the situation. Chapter 2195. The news that the human clan sages were attacking the illusion world immediately shocked everyone in the illusion race. Many of the illusion race sages panicked, including the old monsters guarding the treasure vault. Damn it! What's going on? How come the human saints found out about our illusion realm? But we didn't get any information. We spend so much money to get information, but it's useless at the critical moment. We didn't get any information. Trash. You're all trash. An old monster of the illusion race roared furiously. The reason why the illusion race had been safe for so many years was because of their powerful intelligence and concealment abilities. Usually, they would escape before the enemy could launch an encirclement. But now, they didn't get any information until the human saints killed their way here. How could the old monsters of the illusion race not be furious? They even wanted to kill all the intelligence leaders. No matter how it was leaked, everyone knows that the humans have come out in full force to destroy our illusion race. The human saints have locked down the entire illusion realm and set up all kinds of godly restrictions to block the space-time. We can't escape at all. Damn it. All saints of the illusion race, listen to my command. Attack and kill these human bastards. Let them know that our illusion race isn't to be trifled with. The saints of the illusion race shouted angrily. They received the order from their ancestors. No matter where they were or what they were doing, they all flew out of the illusion realm. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, the saints of the illusion race flew out like bees. The sky was filled with the shadows of the saints, shaking the void. 1 hour earlier, in the central universe, on a vast square in a sacred place of the human clan, sages from various races gathered. Right now, a Tao discussion conference was being held here. Many human ancestors sat on the cushions on the high platform, emitting unrivaled auras that seemed to suppress the space-time, making countless sages' hearts palpitate. These were the human ancestors, terrifying existences who stood at the peak of the universe. They were the guarantee that the human clan would always stand at the top of the universe. They were the strongest combat force in the universe. Empty old ghost, is it enough? At this moment, the Xiaorao ancestral master opened his eyes, and a cold light flashed in them. The void shook, and his spirit consciousness spread out silently. However, it only vibrated on the high platform, and the other sages couldn't detect any sound. It's about time. The sages of the human race, and the other sages have more or less gathered. Let's not let the traitors of the illusory race escape. Let's get started quickly. The one who spoke was a gray-robed elder. He carried a scarlet gourd on his back, and his cheeks were flushed red as if he was drunk. This person was Ancestor Kong Kong, a supreme expert who had mastered space-time techniques. Little Dark North, this is a war that hasn't happened in a long time. We will fight against the saints of the illusion race, and even the demons of the abyss. This will be a drill for the war against the abyss. You will be the main force this time. We will observe from the side. Do you have any confidence? Xiaoyao Ancestral Master smiled faintly, and looked at the figure standing beside him. This person was Xiaoping's master, Dark North Ancestral Master. He was indeed a junior in front of so many human patriarchs. However, his strength was on par with most of the human patriarchs. Don't worry. None of the saints of the illusion race can leave alive. I will kill them all. Dark North Ancestral Master said faintly, and touched the sword at his waist. That's good. Let's begin. Ancestor Kong Kong pointed lightly. With a boom, ripples appeared in the void of the entire square. The void vibrated, and a huge and horrifying energy sphere enveloped and sealed the space-time. What? The sages were astonished and couldn't help but stand up. They sensed that the square had become an absolute space-time cage, and they couldn't escape no matter what power they used. Some foreign sages were even a bit panicked. They thought that the human sages had chosen to attack them, and that this Tao discussion conference was a trap to catch them all in one fell swoop. However, some ancient sages were very calm. They knew that if the human sages wanted to kill them, They didn't need to use these small tricks. They could just kill them directly. Besides, killing people in the Tao discussion conference was obviously not good for the reputation of the human race, and would cause other races to attack them. No matter how they looked at it, the human race had no reason to commit such a heinous crime. Guys, don't worry. At this moment, Xiaoyao Ancestral Master stood up and said, "This time, we sealed the space-time to prevent the news from leaking out. Guys, please be patient." Under this space-time seal, no information could be transmitted, as if they were isolated from the world. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, what do you want by making such a big scene? An ancient demon saint asked. We only have one goal, and that is to destroy the illusion race. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master said faintly, What? Destroy the illusion race? Does the human race know the location of the illusion race? They must know. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made such a big scene. I'm surprised that the human race still found the illusion race after fleeing for so long. But how did the illusion race offend the human race? They made such a big scene, and even held a Tao discussion conference to deceive the human race. The sages talked among themselves. I know that some of you sages might be friends with the illusion race sages, or you might be the incarnation of the illusion race sages, or you might even sympathize with them. But it doesn't matter. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master's eyes revealed a trace of cold light. I hope that when we attack the illusion realm, you can attack if you want, and you can stand aside and watch the show if you don't. The attack plan is very important. The illusion race colluded with the demons in the abyss, and was corrupted by the abyss. This is a serious crime that requires the death of all clans. Whoever dares to make trouble at this time will be the enemy of all races in the world, and will die even if they escape to the end of the abyss. Horrifying murderous spirit filled every corner of the square, sending chills down the spines of countless sages. Damn it! The illusion race colluded with the abyss and became the dogs of the abyss. Really? Does the human race have any proof? There must be proof. Otherwise, why would they make such a big scene? If that's the case, then the illusion race deserves to die. No one can save them. How dare they collude with the abyss? It's outrageous. We can kill them dozens of times. Don't worry. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, count us in. They dared to violate the treaty of all races, and collude with the demons in the abyss. They are the enemies of the universe, and must be executed. The foreign sages were murderous. If it were any other matter, it would have nothing to do with them. But the fact that the illusion race dared to collude with the abyss was a big deal. None of the races would tolerate this. This was a matter of life and death for all races in the world. Even the top races with mortal enemies would work together because of this. Chapter 2196. Okay, let's begin. Empyrean Ancestral Master made a hand seal, and the entire square shook. From the depths of the void, a transparent flying arc appeared. It was huge and boundless, containing powerful void energy. My goodness! It's the space-time arc, a peerless saint artifact. A sage couldn't help but yell in astonishment, because it was his first time seeing a peerless saint artifact. It must be noted that a peerless saint artifact was completely different from a top-grade saint artifact. It wasn't as simple as 10 times more powerful. It was thousands or even tens of thousands of times more powerful. After becoming a peerless saint artifact, it seemed to contain a universe inside, engraved with complete universal laws, and could unleash unparalleled power. It was a true treasure that protected the clan, and it could suppress the fortune for billions of years. Boom! The space-time arc arrived at the plaza, and silently enveloped the entire plaza. No, it wasn't as simple as just enveloping the square. Instead, it had enveloped the entire void of the square, from top to bottom, without any blind spots. Instantly, the sages sensed that they had entered another universe in the space-time arc, and the universal laws were completely different from before. Inside the space-time arc, they couldn't even unleash 50% of their power. Swoosh! The space-time arc trembled, and instantly fused with the dimensional space-time. It traveled through the sea of stars silently, passing by dimensional spaces, as if it was a creature from another dimension. Nothing could detect the space-time arc's shadow. 1 hour later, the space-time arc appeared in the sky above the illusion realm like a giant beast. The pagoda high up in the sky, restrictive and the sages could sense that the illusion realm was below them. When the other sages saw this, the lair of the illusion race popped out of their sockets. The sages finally believed the human ancestral master's the Tower of 10 Directions. They had really found the illusion race. A saint couldn't help but exclaim, "Let's begin." There are a total of 10 of these dark golden pagodas, void, and 10 primordial illusion realm needed to unleash the full power of the illusion realm artifact. Is the peerless saint artifact. Once the 10 Directions World Pagoda was activated, although it doesn't have enough offensive power, the 10 Directions World, escaping, sealing the space traces, and forming a world corridor. The Mirage Mist no matter how hard to the void and escape without a trace. The previous three attempts to annihilate the illusion race failed. In the primeval time, the power of the humans used this peerless saint artifact. The Xiao ancestral master said in a deep voice, "In that battle, don't worry, they won a great victory. We have already made full preparations. Demons and no matter how cunning the illusion race is, laying the foundation for the victory of the drink our bathwater." The ancient felt chills in their hearts said coldly. The humans even took out the 10 Directions World ancestral master waved his hand, which showed that the humans were determined to win this mission. Perhaps primordial saints wasn't only to deal with the illusion race. Each of them held a small dark golden pagoda hiding behind the illusion race. Some sages revealed a trace of coldness in their eyes. It seemed that this battle wouldn't be so simple, and many sages might die. At this moment, the 10 primordial saints immediately spread out in different places. With the huge dark golden pagodas in their hands, they formed a hand seal. Instantly, the huge dark golden pagodas appeared in the vacuum of the universe. Towering between the sky and the earth, they were divided into 10 directions like 10 pillars. Dong! 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 Immediately, the 10 huge dark golden pagodas formed one world after another. They intertwined with each other and grew endlessly. Yin and Yang merged into one, and the 5 elements flowed as if forming a cycle. The 10 worlds represented 10 different world laws. No matter how powerful the peerless saint artifact, the Mirage Mist Pearl, was to be able to cast illusions and hide time and space, it couldn't escape from the 10 world laws. Let's greet the sage of the illusion race. Otherwise, others will think that we humans are rude. Ancestor Emptiness said lazily. That's easy. Ancestor Dark North stood out, his face expressionless. He slapped out with his palm, covering the sky and the earth. A terrifying giant hand came crashing down from the depths of the void. Dong! Immediately, the entire illusion was squeezed by this giant hand. Endless mana exploded from the depths of the giant hand, creating a destructive wave. It seemed as if the entire illusion was going to be crushed. At this moment, the illusion was rattling. Countless laws of heaven and earth collapsed. Mountains collapsed and seas roared. Piece after piece of land was crushed, creating violent chi of the universe. Vaguely, the illusion seemed to be on the verge of shattering. Oh my God! Many of the foreign saints were shocked, and looked at Saint Darknorth in disbelief. That palm alone had surpassed all of them. It had reached the level of an undefeatable saint. If this world wasn't protected by the Mirage Mist Pearl, it would have been crushed long ago, and turned into a ball of chi. Who is it? 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 Voices came from the depths of the illusion. They were furious and furious. Waves of terrifying saint aura shot into the sky. There was also a sense of exasperation. That was because the power of that palm was not to be underestimated. If it wasn't for the support of the Mirage Mist Pearl, the entire phantom world would have exploded, and the entire phantom race would have been wiped out. This was the hatred of the extermination of a race, and it was absolutely irreconcilable. One could imagine how angry these saints were. Die! Saint Darknorth's eyes flashed with coldness. Without saying anything, he threw a punch. Bang! A saint of the illusion race did not even know what was going on. This punch surpassed time and space, and reached the level of a god. It was unbelievable. His entire body exploded and even his soul was crushed. With just a single punch, an unknown saint was beaten to death, his body perishing, and his Tao disappearing. Attack! This punch also triggered a war. The saints of the other races did not hesitate and rushed in all directions. In an instant, the war between the human race and the illusion race erupted. Chapter 2197. Currently, in the outer hall of the treasury. What do we do? Master Fane. Many treasury guards looked at immortal Saint Fane nervously. No one cared about a nobody like Xia Ping anymore. Even the bell of extinction had rung, which meant that the entire race would be wiped out. Now the entire race was on the brink of death. They didn't even know if they could survive such a disaster. So how could they have the mood to deal with Xia Ping? What do we do? How do I know? Fane immediately wanted to curse. This was a disaster that could wipe out an entire race. The human race's saints had attacked in full force, even using peerless saint items. It was clear that they were planning on killing the illusion. Under such circumstances, even ancient saints might not be able to survive, let alone Fane, who was only an immortal saint. His strength wasn't even worth mentioning among saints. However, he still endured it. After all, he was an immortal saint, a high and mighty powerhouse. He didn't want to lose face in front of these mortals. Just then, Xia Ping stood out and looked at Fane calmly. Fane, you don't need to think about what to do. Just what you said is enough to make you die without a grave. Have you thought about how you're going to die? Shut up. A little ant dares to be so arrogant here. You don't need to enter the black prison today. I'll kill you now and see who can save your life today. Hearing this, Fane was furious. It was fine that he couldn't deal with this disaster. But Barty, this little ant, dared to cause trouble at such a critical moment. Instantly, he became bold and wanted to kill Xia Ping. In this critical moment, a few people dying was just a small matter. No one would look into it. Idiot. Xia Ping sneered. With a thought, a tyrannical spiritual domain blasted out. His eyes exploded with unprecedented cold light, like the sun. What? Fane was scared half to death. He immediately felt the entire world change. The world spun, as if a sun had risen in the dark starry sky. The entire world was burned by the scorching sun, and everything was destroyed. In this world, terrifying flames ignited, releasing endless golden light, vast and mighty, imposing like rainbows, containing endless killing intent. Rays of light intertwined, emitting terrifying heat. It was as if they were going to melt his soul. This mental domain covered every corner of the yard. Dozens of illusory race guards let out shrill screams like pigs being slaughtered. It was impossible for them to withstand the power of this spiritual domain with their soul power alone. It was like a sun sweeping across the sky, destroying everything, destroying the human world. Boom! The guards of the illusion race were all killed. Their souls were shattered, and blood flowed out of their orifices. They fell to the ground with their eyes wide open. It was as if they had lost everything, and were just empty shells. Spiritual domain. This is a spiritual domain that only an immortal saint can possess. Damn it, you're an immortal saint. No, you're not Barty. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you invade my illusion world? Finn shouted. At this moment, he finally understood why the phantom world was suddenly discovered by the human clan. It turned out that a spy had silently infiltrated the phantom world, and even disguised himself as a member of the phantom race to enter the treasure vault. The other party was even an undying saint. How terrifying was this? An undying saint actually entered the illusion world, yet none of the illusion race saints noticed. If news of this were to spread, the entire illusion race would be shaken. Even the ancient saints would take action. At the thought of this, Finn immediately wanted to escape from this spiritual domain. As long as he could shout, he would be able to inform the other saints to appear and surround and kill this intruder. Sadly, it was too late. Sun God Fist. At that moment, Xia Ping punched out, channeling the immense power within his body. He even used the bloodline power of the Golden Crow of Hell, and gathered all the strange flames within him. As he punched out, endless strange flames gathered in the depths of his fist, forming a horrifying vortex. Horrifying air currents swirled, collapsed and strangled, as if forming a black hole. Faintly, there seemed to be the shadow of a flame god standing behind his fist. It was high and mighty like a god, emitting a destructive flame aura. This punch seemed to have gathered most of Xia Ping's strength. It was extremely violent and could kill anything in its way. He wanted to kill Finn with a single punch to prevent any future troubles. He must not let the other party escape and attract reinforcements. Astral protection technique. Finn roared. At this moment of life and death, he finally reacted. He activated his mystique, and layers of light barriers formed from astral energy surged out. In an instant, 18,000 layers of energy barriers covered his body. They were incomparably thick, like countless stars protecting his body. They contained unparalleled defensive power. Even an all-out attack from an immortal saint would not be able to break through his astral protection technique. This was also the mystique that he was proud of. It was tyrannical beyond compare. It was a pity that he had encountered Xia Ping. This sun god fist contained the power of extreme yang, and even the power of the golden crow of hell's flames. It brought with it a world-destroying might, and nothing could block it. Dong! This punch landed on the light ball formed by Finn's astral protection technique. Instantly, the stars exploded on the spot, shattering into pieces. The terrifying power of the golden crow of hell's flames pierced through everything. No matter what it was burned to ashes. Even the armor that Finn was wearing couldn't block it. It was burned through in a breath's time. This power directly bombarded Finn's body. With a boom, Finn let out a mournful scream. His entire body was blown up into a pile of meat paste. Every cell in his body emitted powerful soul waves and howled in pain. Swish, swish, swish. His flesh squirmed, as if he wanted to use his immortal body to escape and regenerate. However, before Finn could move, the golden crow of hell's flames immediately burned, enveloping every piece of his flesh, and even every cell in his body. Whoosh! In a few breaths' time, Finn's body was burned to ashes. Even his soul was burned into nothingness. Nothing was left. Immortal Saint Finn was dead. As expected, I don't even need the reincarnation brush or other powerful treasures now. I can kill an immortal saint with a single punch. Xia Ping clenched his fists in excitement. After becoming an immortal saint, his magic power was more than 1,000 times stronger. At the same time, the power of the golden crow of hell's flames in his body increased exponentially. Once touched by the golden crow of hell's flames, even the soul of an immortal saint would be burned to death. Its power could even burn space and burn through spatial caverns. Chapter 2198. Bastard, you actually dared to kill Finn. Just at this moment, an angry shout came from afar. It was like thunder, shaking the surroundings. Immediately, 3 or 4 figures landed in front of the courtyard, their bodies emitting an undying aura. All 4 of them were immortal sages. One of them was even the outer hall master of the treasury, Jonas. He had already reached the pinnacle of the immortal realm, and was only a step away from the immemorial sage realm. The other 3 were the deputy hall masters of the outer hall of the treasury. Including Fane, there were a total of 4 deputy hall masters. They sensed the intense battle fluctuations here, as if there were undying saints fighting here. They were immediately startled, quickly hurrying over to see what was going on. It could be said that the upper echelons of the treasury's outer palace had turned out in full force. However, they didn't expect to see Xia Ping kill Fane with a single punch as soon as they arrived. They were shocked and angry at the same time. They wanted to capture this murderer and skin him alive. Barty, no, that's not right. You're not the real Barty. Barty doesn't have the power to kill an undying saint. Tell me, who are you? Why did you invade my illusion world? A deputy palace master shouted angrily as he stared at Xia Ping with a murderous look. He felt that the reason why the human race sages attacked the illusory realm might have something to do with this person. If he could capture this kid alive, he would definitely reap a huge harvest. Zhang Xian could sense that the other party's cultivation was only at the sempiternal realm at the very most. He had yet to comprehend the spatial laws and reach the level of ancient sages. If this person was a saint from ancient times, he would have run away long ago instead of staying in this place. The reason why Fane had died at the hands of this person was probably because this intruder had some unknown means, or Fane had already been plotted against by the enemy. If they were a bit more cautious, they wouldn't fear this brat's threat at all. This was the confidence of an undying saint. Could it be that this brat informed the human race to come to the illusion dimension? This brat is the main culprit behind the extermination of our clan? A deputy temple master's face was gloomy as he thought of the foreign invasion. No one would believe that this kid had nothing to do with the human race sage attacking the illusion realm. Even if he's not the culprit, he's definitely related to this matter. He must be one of the accomplices. We can't let this bastard escape. We must capture him. The remaining Vice Hall Master was filled with killing intent. Why are you wasting your breath on him? Cripple him, torture him, and he'll spill everything. Jonas, the Temple Lord, sneered. He didn't waste any time talking to Xia Ping, and immediately attacked. In the blink of an eye, he formed a seal with both hands, and tens of thousands of black balls of lightning appeared on his body. Each of the balls of lightning seemed to have the shadow of a demon god. They were ferocious and contained an aura of destruction. Vaguely, these black lightning balls contained the power of the 5 elements, and they mutually reinforced and countered each other, growing and multiplying endlessly. This was his innate ability, 5 elemental demon vanquishing thunder. Its power was not to be underestimated. If it were to explode in an instant, it would be enough to heavily injure an undying saint. Kill! Palace Lord Jonas immediately controlled the black lightning balls to bombard Xia Ping, covering almost the entire area. He attempted to detonate them at the same time, blasting Xia Ping into dust. Fool, what can a mere thunderball do to me? A cold gleam flashed in Xia Ping's eyes. Without any fear, he sent out a palm strike. In an instant, he executed the unparalleled mystic ability in his body, Great Yin-Yang Tablet Breaking Palm. After advancing to the sempiternal realm, the might of the Great Yin-Yang Tablet Breaking Palm had increased by more than 1,000 times. At this realm, it already possessed the power to seal the void. It contained boundless fortune, and when Yin and Yang interchanged, it could destroy all matter. This was the true might of the Qianquan faction's unparalleled mystic ability. Immediately, a palm slapped out, manifesting the power of Yin and Yang. It seemed to have turned into a huge millstone, containing the power to create a world and deduce the heavens. The power of Yin and Yang reversed, giving rise to a terrifying power. It was as if the space within a radius of 1,000,000 li was grabbed by this hand the moment it appeared. Nothing could escape from the palm, forming an absolute domain. Dong! The slap landed heavily on Jonas. Before the tens of thousands of black balls of lightning could explode, they were immediately smashed into pieces, completely obliterated, and turned into powder. At the same time, the terrifying palm grabbed onto Jonas, unleashing a terrifying power of Yin and Yang that tore through everything. Immediately, Jonas let out a shrill scream. His body was also smashed into a pile of meat paste by the palm. His body was split into pieces, and a huge palm print appeared on the ground, leaving behind a terrifying aura that flickered unsteadily. A terrifying aura emanated from the deep crater, piercing through space. Seeing this scene, the other 3 Vice Hall Masters were so scared that they wet their pants. That was Jonas, a pinnacle sempiternal realm expert. His strength was even higher than theirs. Yet, with just a single palm strike, he had smashed Jonas into meat paste. It was unknown whether he was still alive or not. Even if he wasn't a near ancient sage, he wasn't too far from it. Yet they had actually tried to deal with such a monster. Wasn't that just courting death? Run! Hurry up and run! This invader is too strong. Inform the elders of the clan immediately. Have them capture and kill this invader. Retreat! Don't fight him to the death. The 3 Vice Hall Masters immediately fled. They didn't care whether Jonas was dead or alive. In any case, their lives were more important. There was no need to stay here and fight this monster to the death. Trying to escape? Have you asked for my permission? Come out, Bell of Chaos. Xia Ping didn't even bother to look at it. He immediately activated the Bell of Chaos, his natal magic treasure. It immediately floated above his head, surrounded by wisps of chaotic air currents. Dang! 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 In an instant, the Bell of Chaos began to vibrate after being imbued with a tremendous amount of magic power. With its body as the center, terrifying sound waves spread out, affecting the entire outer hall of the treasure vault. This was a terrifying sound wave imbued with the power of a sound stone. It had the destructive power to destroy souls and shatter space. In just a breath's time, wherever these sound waves went, they were filled with a strong destructive power. The entire resting area of the outer hall was immediately shattered. Countless cracks appeared on the ground, and countless restrictions and formations were shattered. It was as if the entire outer hall had been shattered. The three Vice Hall Masters hadn't even moved a few steps when their bodies were immediately struck by the sound waves. They shook back and forth tens of millions of times, producing a terrifying destructive power. No, no, no. Stop. Stop right now. They screamed and panicked. They sensed the impending danger of death. However, even though they sensed danger, there was nothing they could do. The three of them couldn't retaliate at all. Just like that, their bodies were shattered. The terrifying power of the sound waves even directly attacked their souls. With a few cracking sounds, their souls were shattered just like that. Their true souls were shattered, and they died on the spot. Chapter 2199. As expected, the bell's power has increased by more than 100 times. Even an immortal saint can't stop it. It can even shatter space with full power. Xiaoping clenched his fist. He was getting more and more confident in his own power. Even immortal saints were only experts who understood space laws. He could rely on his magic power, which far surpassed other sages of the same level, and his various powerful treasures. With such power, it was not impossible for him to fight against immortal saints. Of course, the exact result would only be known after a fight. There are no more immortal saints in the outer palace. Xiaoping stood in the same place as he spread out his spiritual consciousness. The entire outer hall of the treasury was enveloped by his spiritual domain. Even if there were all sorts of restrictions and array formations, it was of no use, as they couldn't resist the penetration of his spiritual domain. Boom! At the same time, he activated his infernal golden crow eye. Rays of dark gold light penetrated the void. The entire outer palace, and even the inner palace, were exposed to his gaze. Nothing could hide. Indeed, because the human race sages attacked the illusion dimension, basically all the sages in the treasure vault came out. Even the many old monsters in the inner hall, and the primordial sages temporarily left the treasure vault to fight the enemy outside the illusion dimension. After all, this was a life and death crisis for the illusion race. These old monsters could not just stay in the treasury and do nothing, unless they wanted to watch the illusion race perish. Great chance. Seeing this, Xiaoping felt very good. Now that the old monsters in the treasury had left, and the few immortal saints guarding the treasury had been killed by him. In other words, this treasury was now his territory. Like a naked beauty, he could do whatever he wanted. Whoosh! First, Xiaoping went to the outer palace. Although the treasures in the outer palace were not as valuable as those in the inner palace, no matter how small a mosquito was, it still had some meat. He would not mind having more treasures on him. With such an opportunity, if he didn't plunder it, how could he be worthy of such a great opportunity? After all, these people from the illusory tribe were all thieves and bandits. Their treasures were obtained by cheating, so he didn't have any psychological burden. Stop, Barty. What are you doing? This is the outer palace. Without the order of the palace master, no one is allowed to come near. Anyone who does will be killed. Do you understand? At this moment, at the entrance of the outer hall, some illusion race guards immediately shouted. When they saw Xiaoping approaching, they immediately wanted to stop him from advancing. They could instinctively sense that this Barty in front of them was very unusual, as if he wanted to take the opportunity to break into the treasury. Scram! Xiaoping glanced at the group of guards. With just a glance, a tyrannical spiritual domain enveloped them. Buzz! In an instant, these illusory tribe guards, no matter how strong they were, could not withstand this kind of spiritual pressure. In an instant, they were knocked unconscious, and some even bled from their orifices. With their strength alone, they were unable to resist the might of an immortal saint, let alone Xiaoping, who far surpassed an immortal saint. One look from him was enough to make them faint. There's actually a restrictive array here. Looks like I'll have to be careful. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He used the golden crow's eye of hell to look at the outer hall's treasury. He discovered that this place was also covered in dense array formations. If he used brute force to forcefully break through, it would not be impossible. The problem was that doing so would definitely alert the illusion race's saints outside, which would cause a lot of trouble. After all, there were many illusion race's saints. Any near ancient saint, or even a middle ancient saint, would be enough to pose a threat to him. If it was not necessary, he could not alert the illusion race's saints. Fortunately, he had the golden slime with him. It could swallow the outer hall's walls and enter without a sound, without alerting the restrictive array formations. At the same time, his golden crow's eye of hell could also see through the various nodes of the restrictive array formations. With that thought in mind, Xiaoping did not hesitate and immediately summoned the golden slime. Dong! Suddenly, the golden slime leaped forward and turned into a blob of liquid, covering the outer hall's door. Suddenly, the entire outer hall's door was corroded, creating a hole the size of 3 people. As the corrosion spread, the entire door to the outer palace's treasury was completely devoured by the golden slimes. It seemed that this door was also made of special cosmic materials, and to the golden slimes, it could be considered a delicious meal. Whoosh! Xiaoping immediately walked through the door and entered the outer hall's treasury. Suddenly, as if he had entered a dimensional space, he found that the outer hall's treasury was incomparably huge, covering an area larger than a large planet. My God, we're rich, this time we're really rich. This is worthy of being the illusion race's treasury. I didn't expect there to be so many treasures. Corinne also saw this scene. His eyes immediately lit up. He was extremely excited. Even though it had followed the saints of the stars for countless years, it had never seen so many treasures. No matter what, this was the treasury of a large clan. After countless years of accumulation, even if there was a lot of consumption, the treasures stored were still quite shocking. It was simply an astronomical figure. My God, there are too many medicinal pills here. Fury Spirit Pill, Chi Spirit Pill, Elemental Spirit Pill, Power Spirit Pill, Wind Spirit Pill, 100 Turns Pill, Scarlet Blood Pill, Soul Cleansing Pill, Fire Condensing Pill, Wound Healing Pill. Greenox was also very excited. He found a space to store medicinal pills. He was very familiar with the different types of medicinal pills. Every one of them was incomparably precious. However, the quantity of each kind of medicinal pill was very large, at least reaching tens of billions of them. These medicinal pills were densely stacked together. It was just like a mountain. He couldn't imagine how much wealth the illusion race had to be able to refine so many medicinal pills. Moreover, this was just the outer hall's medicinal pill treasury, that's all. It was only refined for the sake of training the illusion race's descendants. It was simply not the most precious treasure of the illusion race. Not only are there many medicinal pills, there are also many kinds of universe ores: iron essence, copper essence, silver essence, dock stone, agate horn, lapis lazuli, golden fiery stone, fire melting crystal, and so on. They are all extremely precious ores, belonging to the first-class refining materials. Corinne was very excited. He found a space to store refining materials, and found that these universe ores were simply piled up like a mountain, each of them up to tens of thousands of tons, some even millions of tons, as if they didn't cost money. It could be imagined that the illusion race's wealth was absolutely not a small matter. Even some human super countries might not be able to compare to the countless wealth accumulated by the illusion race. Mine, all of them are mine. Xiaoping's eyes also lit up. He felt his blood boiling. He waved his hand, and all these treasures were moved into the space of the mountain river Pearl. Not even a hair was left behind. Chapter 2200. Half an hour later, all the treasures in the outer hall of the illusion race's treasury had been removed by Xiaoping. Now the entire outer hall was empty. Even the door had been torn down. The loot was even cleaner than one's face. We are rich enough to rival a country. Now we are really rich enough to rival a country. The green ox was extremely excited. Even if its old master was an ancient sage and had accumulated an astonishing amount of wealth, it could not be compared to the treasury of a race. Not to mention the famous illusion race. Even if most of the wealth of this race was placed in the hands of the illusion race's sages, leaving only a small part of the treasury, was still quite amazing. If these treasures were taken out and sold, they could definitely buy dozens of star fields. Even the treasures in the outer hall are so amazing. The treasures in the inner hall are even more amazing. Xia Ping, let's hurry to the inner hall's treasury and plunder it. Corinne's eyes were red. As the saying goes, a horse will not get fat without night grass, and a man will not get rich without a windfall. Now was clearly a chance to get rich overnight. If they missed this opportunity, they might not get it again. They could accumulate the treasures of an ancient sage in countless years. Who knew how many people would be scared to death if they knew about it? If they did not plunder the treasures when the illusion race's sages were busy, then when would they plunder? Okay. Xia Ping nodded. Of course, he also wanted to plunder the inner hall. After all, the inner hall's treasury still had the sound stone that he had been dreaming of. It was of great benefit to improving the power of the chaos cauldron, so he could not miss it. But before he left, he had to leave some marks. After all, as a guest, it was not good and polite to leave without a trace. Thinking of this, he immediately wrote a few lines of words on one of the walls of the treasury. I heard that the illusion race was rich, so rich that it could rival a country. My heart yearned for it. Now that I have seen it in the treasury, I know that the rumors are not as good as meeting them in person. My heart is overwhelmed with emotion, and I admit defeat. Because I am short of money, my life is hard, and I have to feed the old and young. I also have to support 3,000 wives and concubines. I am in a precarious situation. I have no choice but to borrow treasures from the illusion race. Please rest assured, I am not a person who goes back on his word. I am borrowing treasures purely out of helplessness. If I have a better life in the future, I will definitely return the treasures, and even visit to thank you. There is no need to worry. When Green Ox and Corinne saw these words, the corners of their mouths couldn't help but twitch. They had already plundered all the treasures of others, but they still dared to leave words in the treasury. This was clearly slapping the illusion race's face, and it was the kind of slapping them to death. He did not know what kind of expression the saints of the illusion tribe would have when they saw these words. Perhaps all of them would be so angry that they might even faint. After doing all this, Xia Ping dusted his hands and immediately flew towards the inner hall of the treasury without any hesitation. A few minutes later, Xia Ping crossed countless layers of space and finally arrived at the inner hall of the treasury. This was an independent dimensional world, and a huge palace stood in the middle of this dimensional world. At this moment, there was no one left in this dimensional world. The dozen or so sages who were originally guarding this place had left and headed outside the illusion realm to fight against the human race sage coalition army. It could be said that this place was an empty nest. Little Gold, swallow the door of this palace. Xia Ping ordered the golden slime. Slime. Hearing this, the golden slime immediately rushed over and turned into a mass of golden liquid, instantly wrapping the huge door of the inner hall. Crash! Suddenly the door, which was refined from precious cosmic materials, was immediately swallowed by the golden slime, and all the power was swallowed up by it. Vaguely, the power of the golden slime seemed to be a lot stronger than before, and it was constantly growing. Bang! When the door of the treasury was swallowed, the appearance of the inner hall was revealed. Immediately, violent energy gushed out from the depths of the inner hall, seemingly distorting the space. One after another, restrictive formations appeared in it. Even if there were no saints guarding this place, the restrictive formations left behind in the inner hall were enough to make countless sages flinch. Hundreds and thousands of restrictive formations overlapped, emitting a terrifying power that distorted the space and even made time stand still. What? In an instant, Xia Ping was caught off guard and was surrounded by the power of these restrictive formations. He suddenly found that his whole body could not move, as if it had come to a standstill. This was not a powerful binding force that could not be broken with brute force at all. This involved the change of the law of time, and it was the power of a higher-level law. It was as if time had stopped at this moment, unable to move forward or backward. Oh no, there is a time-stop formation in the inner hall of the treasury. Once you step in, all time will stop. Unless you are a sage from the Middle Ages who has comprehended the law of time, you will not be able to break out of this restrictive formation. The green bull could not help but cry out in shock. Even if there were no sages guarding this treasury, with the power of the restrictive formation, it would be able to stop countless people with ulterior motives. Time-stop formation? Xiaoping was also shocked. He did not expect there to be such a terrifying formation in the world. With the emergence of the law of time, he did not have any power to resist, no matter how strong his powers were. Suddenly, he felt the reincarnation brush on his body tremble, as if sensing that he was in danger. It immediately flew out from his body, emitting waves of terrifying reincarnation power, distorting the void. It flew out and pointed at the void. With a thud, with Xiaoping at the center, all the laws of the universe instantly collapsed and were completely destroyed. It was as if all the restraints of the laws were forcefully torn apart. Very good. Seeing this, Xiaoping's spirit was lifted. Fortunately, he had a powerful treasure like the reincarnation brush with him, and was not affected by the time-stop formation at all. Otherwise he would be in big trouble. Die! He didn't waste any time. Taking advantage of this gap, he held the reincarnation brush in his hand, and used the golden crow's eyes of hell to see all the restrictive spells in the inner hall of the treasure vault, as well as the spell formation lines branded in the depths of the void. In an instant, he saw the countless nodes of the restrictive formations, which were also the weaknesses of the formations. Xiaoping immediately rushed over and pointed the reincarnation brush gently. Terrifying rays of light shot out one after another, piercing through everything. Nothing could stop it. Dong dong dong. Instantly, all the restrictive formations were torn apart easily. Without the support of the nodes, they could not absorb the energy in the void. The entire restrictive formations collapsed just like that, leaving no power behind. In an instant, the entire treasury was completely safe. Most of the restrictive formations were destroyed. Chapter 2201. It finally disintegrated. Xiaoping heaved a sigh of relief, a relaxed expression on his face. After breaking the restriction array of the inner hall of the treasury, there was no power that could stop him. Of course, he did not destroy the warning restriction array here. He only destroyed the defensive array. So he did not alarm the sages guarding the inner hall of the treasury, and they would not find out that there was a problem in this place. Whoosh! Xiaoping did not hesitate, and immediately entered the inner hall. First, he saw a huge mountain made of elixirs, towering into the clouds, exuding endless vitality. It was as if at this moment, he had fallen into a sea of vitality. With a little breath, it seemed that his magic power had improved greatly, obtaining endless benefits. Oh my god, this is longevity elixir. There are so many longevity elixirs. This illusion race is really rich. Seeing this mountain of elixirs, the green ox could not help but cry out in shock. Corinne also opened his mouth speechless. Longevity elixir? What kind of elixir is this? Xiaoping asked curiously. Longevity elixir. That is a sage-level elixir for sages to condense magic power. It is extremely precious. The azure ox said excitedly. It's a sage-tier pill that can only be refined from the energy of the universe's origin source, and supplemented with 108 types of precious spirit herbs. It can directly temper one's body, strengthen one's magic power, and even activate sage artifacts. These auxiliary elixirs are nothing. Any sage can get a lot of them. The most important is the energy of the universe's origin. This is the purest energy. Sages can only absorb a limited amount of energy every day. Corinne sighed with emotion. He said that if sages want to quickly improve their magic power, they can only take sage-level elixirs like longevity elixir. which can save a lot of effort in condensing magic power. If there is no longevity elixir, they can only rely on years of hard training. The problem is that refining longevity elixir is not so simple. It is very difficult for ordinary sages to communicate with the origin of the universe and absorb the energy of the origin, and they do not get much. It is not enough for their own training. How can they use it to refine elixirs? Only the top forces in the universe can absorb a lot of the energy of the universe's origin, and they are qualified to be so extravagant and refine countless longevity elixirs. In the past, in order to get some longevity elixirs, its old master, myriad star sages, paid a great price and spent a lot of resources to buy them. It was precisely because it had experienced poverty that it knew how incredible it was to possess so many longevity pills. Ordinary undying sages would at most get a few dozen or 100 longevity pills, even if they worked themselves to the bone. Moreover, they would have to live frugally, living a life where they couldn't even make ends meet. But right now, these longevity pills were laid out before him like a huge mountain. There were at least tens of billions of them, and it was an incomparably vast amount. Just how rich and extravagant was this? Compared to the illusory tribe, his old master was worse than a beggar. It now truly understood what it meant to be a nouveau riche, and what it meant to be as wealthy as a nation. It's no wonder that the illusory race has so many saints. With so many longevity pills, they can naturally squander them, at will, and cultivate an endless stream of experts. The green ox could not help but sigh. This was because the longevity elixir was not only extremely beneficial to saints, it was even more beneficial to mortals. Just one longevity elixir was enough to make up for thousands of years of effort in condensing spiritual energy. Of course, the longevity pill was also very important to the sages, so they would not easily give it away. Even so, with such a large amount of longevity elixir, it was enough for them to cultivate many geniuses of the illusory race. Even the sages' cultivation would soar because of these longevity elixirs, surpassing the sages of other races. How did the illusory race do it? How could they concoct so many longevity elixirs? Xiaoping asked. It's probably because the illusory race has a peerless saint artifact, Miss Pearl. The green ox said. The power of a peerless saint artifact doesn't just lie in its strength and unimaginable abilities. At the same time, it can communicate with the origin of the universe at any time and absorb large amounts of origin energy. The illusory race probably borrowed the power of the mist pearl to absorb large amounts of universe origin energy every day. That's why they have the right to be so extravagant and concoct so many longevity elixirs. It voiced out its guess. I see. Xiaoping finally understood. No wonder the peerless saint artifact could suppress the destiny of a race for hundreds of millions of years. It was the greatest guarantee for the continuation of a race. This was not only because the peerless saint artifact was extremely powerful, but also because it could communicate with the origin of the universe, absorb a large amount of origin energy, and refine countless longevity elixirs. With this endless supply of resources, wouldn't it be a piece of cake to nurture countless experts? This was the foundation of a race, and the reason why these old monsters of the illusory race were willing to stay in the treasury to guard was probably to obtain these longevity elixirs, which could absorb the origin energy of the universe at any time and anywhere. Plunder everything. Thinking of this, how could Xiaoping hold back? With a wave of his hand, he immediately plundered the mountains of longevity elixirs piled up, and put them all into the space of his mountain river pearl. When the green ox and Corinne saw this scene, they were extremely excited and moved. It was worth enduring for such a long time in the illusory race. Now was the time for harvest. They also couldn't help but wonder what the saints of the illusory race would think if they knew about this. If such a huge amount of wealth disappeared, they would probably go crazy. 10 minutes later, these longevity elixirs were all plundered by Xiaoping. Look, there is another space in front. There are a lot of rare materials of the illusory race placed there. The sound grain stones should be there. Let's take them all away. Corinne shouted. He also helped to plunder treasures everywhere. With a whoosh, Xiaoping's figure flickered, and immediately came to another place in the inner hall. Sure enough, there were a lot of rare materials placed in this place, including the sound grain stones. And these sound grain stones were also piled up like a mountain, at least 10 tons. Who knows where these saints of the illusory race found them? But this was an immeasurable wealth. Because these cosmic-level rare materials couldn't be bought even with money, the saints wouldn't take these rare materials out to sell. They would only barter them, or use them for themselves. My God, Master, look, these are cosmic-level gems that contain unimaginable power. Life stone, soul stone, thunder god stone, celestial stone, object god stone, sea calming stone. Crazy, the illusory race is really crazy. Where did they find so many cosmic-level gems? The green ox couldn't help but scream, because these cosmic-level gems, even the ancient saints might not be able to obtain them. These were all top-grade treasures that could only be found by luck. Chapter 2202. I didn't expect there to be so many cosmic gems. Seeing the gems above, Xia Ping's eyes suddenly lit up. Life stone. As long as one has a breath, as long as the life stone is by his side, he can be saved. It can provide a steady stream of vitality, and can be regarded as a life-saving gem. Soul stone. This is a gem that can devour soul energy and store soul energy. It has the same ability as the soul-devouring beast, and can even slowly increase the owner's soul power. Thunder god stone. Once you hold this gem, you can immediately comprehend the origin power of thunder, and can even cultivate the thunder god body, controlling all the power of thunder. Celestial stone is an extremely hard gem, with a powerful indestructible characteristic. It is suitable to be refined into a defensive magic weapon that can isolate the dual attacks of magic power and soul. As for divine stone, it is a spatial gem that contains a special spatial world inside. Many magic weapons of the blessed land of heavenly lands are based on divine stone. There is also sea calming stone. With this gem, you can walk in the ocean as if walking on flat ground, become the lord of the ocean, and suppress all ocean storms. It is extremely powerful. It can be said that these gems are extremely precious and special cosmic gems that are only born under certain special conditions and circumstances. They are extremely rare. If the golden slime devours any of the gems mentioned above, it can evolve into a special golden slime. At this time, the golden slime also sensed the aura of these cosmic special gems appeared on the hilt of the sword, out of Xia emitting colorful brilliance, pouncing on the pile of gems. It was extremely luxurious and extravagant. It directly swallowed these cosmic gems. One could tell that this was a priceless treasure sword. Seeing this, the kind that was worth pennies, and immediately wanted to stop it. The golden slime but it was already very excited. In just after 1 second, devouring these cosmic the golden gems, slime devoured these cosmic gems rising steadily. At the same time, its body also surged with many powerful abilities. It actually ate them all. Once any gem can be refined into a powerful sacred tool, it would be able to advance to a mid-grade sacred also artifact. Beat his chest. At the same time, extremely regretful, it would also be able to possess gems special powers one of the main materials for refining sacred tools. Xia Ping waved his hand often by relying on the special ability of these cosmic gems. With a swoosh, all kinds of powerful sacred tools can be refined, and turned into a bangle coiling around his wrist. Isn't this a reckless waste? The bangle had undergone a huge change. It was no longer ordinary abilities, but had 6 gems engraved on it, and didn't mind it around at his surroundings. He knew about the golden slime's innate divine ability. There were many other crafting materials as well. As long as he swallowed even though they weren't as valuable as the cosmic gems, he would be able to obtain the corresponding ability. Materials. It wasn't a bad thing to be eaten by the golden slime. Without holding back, after swallowing these cosmic gems, other than these crafting materials, underwent a huge change. He had also found a place to store spirit medicines. This place had become a part of paradise for spirit medicine. In an instant, with a large number of sage medicines planted into a huge golden sword. It can't be right? To think that there would be so many sage medicines. Xia Ping was dumbfounded, unable to believe his eyes. That was because there were a total of 800 stalks of sage medicines planted within the spirit medicine field. Every single stalk of sage medicine was at least 10 million years old, and they were filled with a powerful spirit. Even when they saw Xia Ping coming over, these sage medicines seemed to be at a loss of what to do, and transmitted a panicked emotion. This was because they had never seen Xia Ping before. It was obvious that their spirit was extremely high, and they were about to possess their own souls and intelligence. One stalk of sage medicine, after another, exuded an endless amount of medicinal qi. It was as though as long as one stayed in this environment, they would be immune to all diseases, and their lifespan would be prolonged, and their cultivation would be constantly strengthened. Other than the sage medicines that had been taken away by the sages, this could be considered as the entire inventory of the illusion race. Oh my God, there are so many sage medicines. Where did these sages of the illusion race plunder them from? Master, dig them all out. Dig out all of these sage medicines, don't let a single one go. The green ox was so excited that he was speechless. He felt that this place was simply heaven, because not only were the sage medicines astonishing, but there were also many types of them. If any alchemists were to witness this scene, they would probably faint from excitement. Ah, bad guys have come in. We're going to be eaten. We're going to be eaten, run. Help, help, there's a bad guy coming to eat us. The stalks of saintly herbs cried out loudly, losing their heads out of fear and running away. It was a pity that this place was not big, so they could only flee in all directions like headless flies, unable to escape in the end. Don't run, all of you come in. Xiaoping smiled and grabbed with his hand. Instantly, a huge hand that covered the sky and the sun enveloped the entire space. All the qi of heaven and earth seemed to stop at this moment. Boom! The huge hand grabbed lightly, and instantly, all the sage medicines and the soil on the ground were uprooted. The stars moved, and in an instant, they were pulled into the space of the pearl of mountain and river. I'll go take care of them and imprison them all, so that they don't run around. The green ox was burning with anxiety. He did not want to stay in the treasury any longer, and immediately went to grab these sage medicines, so that they would not run around in the space of the pearl of mountain and river. It's a pity that I didn't get any sage tools. Xiaoping looked around, but did not see any sage tools. Perhaps because of the disaster of extermination, in order to deal with the attacking human sages, the sages of the illusion race had brought all the sage tools out. After all, at this time, one more sage tool meant one more combat power. They would not waste their sage tools in this place, so they had to make the best use of them. Chapter 2203. Are there no more treasures? 10 minutes later, Xiaoping sensed the entire treasury and found that all the treasures in this place had been plundered by him. There was not a single treasure left. Just as he was about to take the opportunity to escape, he suddenly sensed something. The golden crow's eye of hell seemed to have sensed something. Wait, there's another mysterious space here. He instinctively sensed that the space in front of him was distorted and filled with dense spatial energy. It was as if time and space had folded together. What is this place? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and walked towards the depths of the treasury. He suddenly found that there was an independent space in front of him, which was also the core of the treasury. There were even densely packed restrictive formations set up in this space. One after another, restrictive chains sealed this space. It was airtight, as if they were facing a great enemy. One must know that this treasury was guarded by primordial saints, but this mysterious space was still so tightly guarded. One could imagine how important this place was. Even the primordial saints attached great importance to this place. Golden Crow's Eye of Hell. Thinking of this, Xiaoping did not hesitate. He activated his eyes, and immediately saw through the layers of restrictive formations in this dimensional space. He immediately saw what was in this space. Suddenly, what appeared before him was a boundless void. It was dark, cold, and eerie, as if it was a space of nothingness. Nothing existed, and it was filled with a deathly aura. And it was not that there was nothing in this dark void. There was a huge black coffin floating in the air. The surface of the black coffin was covered with densely packed and twisted blood-colored runes. It was as if a supreme scripture had been engraved in the depths of the coffin. Thick chains of order locked the entire coffin, making it impenetrable and extremely sturdy. It was as if these things were suppressing the most terrifying thing in this world, like Pandora's box. Once released, it would be earth-shattering, and the end of the world. It was extremely terrifying. What is this thing? Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. His divine sense seeped into the coffin, trying to sense the specific situation of the black coffin. But before his divine sense could get close, a deep, terrifying, and cold aura spread out from the depths of the coffin. This aura was like an evil spirit, instantly swallowing his divine sense. What? Immediately, Xiaoping was shaken. He felt as if he had been entangled by an evil spirit from hell, and a piece of flesh was bitten off from his body. There was even a mysterious and deep power that tore through the air, corroding the void and penetrating the layers of space. Even the endless space-time could not obstruct it, as it instantly entered the depths of his sea of consciousness. Curse, curse, curse. In the blink of an eye, a terrifying sound came from the depths of Xiaoping's soul, vibrating back and forth. It was as if a terrifying creature from the depths of hell was offering sacrifices and cursing him. This power was darker than the 9 underworlds, more terrifying than hell, more vicious than the blood sea, and more profound than a black hole. It seemed to be the most fundamental power of darkness that could corrode everything. Rumble. Wave after wave of curse power seeped into Xiaoping's limbs and bones. As if they had a life of their own, they turned into black worms that burrowed into every cell in his body. Powerful resentment, and dark energy covered his entire body. Vaguely, his body released a foul stench, as if it was the celestial 5 declines. Even his undying body couldn't resist this, countless cells quickly aging and dying like this, having endless life force devoured. Courting death. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He could feel how terrifying this curse power was. This was no longer as simple as a divine ability. It was something close to the laws of the universe. Ordinary undying saints couldn't resist it at all. Once they came into contact with it, they would die without a doubt. Even their souls would be cursed and completely deteriorate. Unfortunately, he wasn't an ordinary undying saint. Infernal golden crow fire burn. Thinking of this, Xiaoping activated the infernal golden crow bloodline in his body. The powerful bloodline power started to burn, and his entire body turned into a scorching fireball, like an eternal sun. An ancient, dark, mighty, chaotic, noble, and unfathomable aura surged out from his body, as if he was a terrifying fiend god born from chaos. This was a flame that came from the depths of hell, symbolizing death, life, the 6 paths, and reincarnation. There was nothing it couldn't burn, and it wouldn't extinguish even after billions of years. Everything would be destroyed. Voila! In the blink of an eye, the flame burned every corner of Xiaoping's body. The curse aura that was trying to corrode the cells in his body immediately sizzled. As if it had met its nemesis, the curse aura rapidly retreated like a receding tide. Vaguely from the depths of the void, there seemed to be miserable howls of devils, begging for mercy, howling and howling. But no matter what, the curse aura was immediately burned to ashes, turning into wisps of black smoke that disappeared from the universe. Bang, bang, bang. After such stimulation and the pressure of life and death, Xiaoping could feel the infernal golden crow cells in his body awakening at a crazy rate. 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, and in the end 100 million infernal golden crow cells were awakened. He could feel the magic power and strength in his body rising by a notch. To the sempiternal realm. What is this thing? There were fewer and fewer things that could threaten his life. In his eyes. He was practically undying now. But just now, he had only come into contact with it slightly. He hadn't even gotten close to it, but he had already been killed by a wisp of curse aura emanating from the black coffin. If not for the fact that he possessed the infernal golden crow bloodline, he would have long been cursed to death and fallen into the endless abyss. For such a terrifying thing to be suppressed in the deepest part of the illusion tribe's treasury, and guarded by more than a dozen powerful sages, one could imagine how terrifying this thing was. Perhaps there was a primordial sage suppressing this place, not because of the other treasures in the inner hall's treasury, but because of this black coffin. He felt that this thing was definitely extraordinary. It was terrifying to the extreme, and possessed the power to destroy the world. This is a connate treasure known as the cursed black coffin, the system replied. It contains the most evil and dark power in the universe. It has endless resentment and malice. It is an extremely evil item, and can be said to be the source of all evil. Once this black coffin is opened, endless curse aura will surge out and corrode the universe, causing countless star regions to fall into a land of death. It will never dissipate and cannot be purified. It is even more terrifying than the invasion of the abyss. Chapter 2204. The Source of All Evil? Xiaoping's eyes were filled with awe. An image appeared in his mind. When the cursed black coffin opened, endless resentment and curses gushed out, turning an entire star region into boundless darkness. All the suns, moons, and stars decayed and turned into dark planets. All the land turned into demonic soil and poisonous swamps. All living creatures were cursed and turned into zombies and demons, like the Walking Dead. Even demons from hell and demons from the abyss could not withstand such power. This was the power of death, bringing death and darkness. This was the end of doomsday. Where did the sage of the illusion tribe find this thing? Xiaoping was amazed. He felt that the cursed black coffin was the real trump card of the illusion tribe. Once the power of the cursed black coffin was released, the power was unimaginable. Even a sage would die completely. There was no way to withstand it. Of course, the power of the cursed black coffin did not distinguish between friend and foe. Once it was used, even the illusion tribe would be in trouble. Therefore, the illusion tribe would not make a move. However, if they were faced with the threat of extinction, the illusion tribe would have no choice but to use it and perish together with the enemy. I did not expect the illusion tribe to have such a trump card. Fortunately, I found it. Suddenly, Xiaoping felt lucky. If the power of the cursed black coffin was released during the war, who knew how many human sages would be killed? Even if it did not kill all the human sages, it would still cause great casualties to the human race. It had to be said that although the illusion tribe was not as strong as the human race, their trump card was too terrifying. It could definitely cause great harm to any race. No, I have to take the cursed black coffin away. Otherwise, it might give the illusion tribe a chance to turn the tables. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He immediately realized the importance of the cursed black coffin to the illusion tribe. If such a thing was used at a critical moment, it would be really incredible. If he took the cursed black coffin away, it would be equivalent to cutting off one of the illusion tribe's limbs. It was equivalent to the countries on Earth in his previous life not having nuclear bombs. They would no longer be a threat. However, it was not easy to take the cursed black coffin away. After all, if he got too close, the terrifying power of the curse would be transmitted, and the enemy would be cursed to death. If he were to get too close, he might not be able to withstand it with his infernal golden crow bloodline. He saw that the black coffin was engraved with dense runes, and each rune contained a terrifying power. At a glance, he could tell that it was at least refined by an immemorial saint. Every single saint-grade talisman contained world-shaking power, containing the laws of time and space. They linked up with the origin of the universe and formed the laws of the world, fiercely suppressing the black coffin, not allowing any of its power to leak out. Xiaoping did not know how many talismans were sealed in the black coffin, but he guessed that it had taken countless years of effort from the illusion race's primordial sage. He had been guarding the inner hall of the treasure vault all this time to refine talismans to suppress the black coffin. Even so, the cursed black coffin constantly emitted a terrifying curse power. The saint-grade talismans engraved on the coffin were still corroded, turning into black talismans and cursed talismans. Moreover, with the passage of time, many small cracks appeared on these saint-grade talismans, and they were constantly strengthening. In time, the cursed black coffin would break through the seal sooner or later, and even the primordial sage would not be able to suppress it. Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately asked, "System, do you have any way to seal this cursed black coffin so that I can take it away?" There are several ways, but according to the host's financial resources, the best way now is to exchange for a creation orb. It can transform into a world that can contain and isolate everything. The system replied, "If the cursed black coffin is placed in the creation orb, it can isolate the curse aura emitted by the cursed black coffin and not let it leak out casually. Moreover, it is a one-time item and cannot be broken. If the host breaks the creation orb, He will need to exchange for a new one to continue the seal. Oh, there is such a way. But how much hatred does a creation orb need? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. It needs 100 hatred crystals. The system said. What? The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. 100 hatred crystals? What a joke. He had worked so hard to offend who knew how many people, but it was difficult to earn 100 hatred crystals. Now, just a creation orb, and it was a one-time item, required 100 hatred crystals. This price was too exaggerated. Is there no other way? For example, something that can solve this problem permanently? Xiaoping asked, unwilling to give up. Yes. As long as the host can completely refine this cursed black coffin and comprehend the essence of the curse law, this problem can be solved permanently, and the power of the cursed black coffin will not leak out again. The system said. But the host's strength is too weak now, and there is no way to control such a congenital magic treasure. Once you try to refine it, only death awaits. Your soul will be eroded by the power of the curse and completely wither. Forget it then. Exchange for a creation orb. Xiaoping said helplessly. He did not know how long it would take for his strength to grow to the point where he could refine the cursed black coffin. Although 100 hatred crystals were a lot, it was worth it to obtain this cursed black coffin. Yes, host, as you wish. The system replied. Boom! In the next second, a white sphere about the size of a fist appeared in front of Xiaoping. This is the creation orb. Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately felt a mental connection with this white light sphere. This white light sphere seemed to be a complete world, with complete world laws. It was extremely sturdy, and it could isolate all auras and power. However, there seemed to be nothing in this world. It was empty like a huge cage. With this magic treasure, it would not be a problem to seal the cursed black coffin. Go! Thinking of this, Xiaoping did not hesitate, and immediately broke the restrictive formation. Under the control of his mind, the creation orb of legend entered this empty space with a whoosh. There did not seem to be any traps or restrictive formations protecting this space. This was probably because the saints of the illusion tribe believed that no one could enter the treasure vault. Even if they did, they would die if they tried to get close to the cursed black coffin. They would be eroded by the power of the curse until they died. The cursed black coffin itself was the strongest defense. Unfortunately, they did not know that Xiaoping had a secret treasure like the creation orb that could seal the cursed black coffin. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the creation orb approached the cursed black coffin. Before the cursed black coffin could react, the light sphere swallowed it completely and integrated it into its inner world. Boom! Sensing this power, the cursed black coffin immediately exploded. A terrifying dark curse power exploded, trying to tear the creation orb apart. Unfortunately, no matter how hard it tried, it could not break through the absolute barrier of the creation orb. Chapter 2205. Bang! 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 The cursed black coffin, which was sealed in the creation orb, exploded with a terrifying black aura. It contained darkness, curses, evilness, resentment, and other powers. It transformed into a giant hand and slammed into the inner wall of the creation orb. Suddenly, thousands of terrifying hands slammed madly, making banging sounds. They tried to smash and erode the creation orb. The black hands were like ghostly hands, frightening people. If they really broke out, they would probably explode with terrifying power and kill countless creatures. Unfortunately, the power of the creation orb isolated everything. No matter how terrifying the cursed black coffin was, it couldn't break out and was trapped in the creation orb. Whoosh! The next second, Xiaoping immediately took back the creation orb, and it landed in his hand. As expected, the natural treasure cursed black coffin was sealed. He was very satisfied. After sealing the cursed black coffin, it was equivalent to cutting off one of the arms of the illusion race. He had lost most of their trump cards, and was no longer a threat. Furthermore, if he were to obtain this connate artifact and refine it completely, he would probably be able to obtain an endless amount of energy. With the terrifying power of the curse, He would be able to move unhindered throughout the universe without any worries. Even if he encountered a powerful enemy, it could be a trump card. Alright, there are no more treasures here. Let's run. After putting the creation orb into the space of the Pearl of Mountain River, Xiaoping wanted to leave the illusion realm. After all, a terrible war had happened here. He didn't know what would happen next. As the saying went, a gentleman doesn't stand under a collapsing wall. There was no need for him to stay in this dangerous place. Wait, the space-time of this illusion realm has been sealed. I can't leave at all. Xiaoping realized that the space-time around the illusion realm had been sealed by a powerful treasure. The surroundings were suppressed by layers of worlds. There was no way to escape through space. Although he could use the space of the Pearl of Mountain River to leave, the Pearl of Mountain River had to stay in the illusion realm. This treasure could also be found by other sages and obtained by others. It was not worth it. Forget it. I'll stay in the illusion realm for now. I'll leave after the war is over. He touched his chin. With the ability of the formless mask, he could change. Even an invincible sage wouldn't be able to find him. Even if he stayed in the illusion realm, he wouldn't be found by others. Whoosh. Thinking of this, Xiaoping's figure flashed, and he temporarily left the treasury. He went to a corner of the illusion world and hid. Right, let's see how the battle is going. After hiding, he wanted to know the situation of the battle between the illusion race and the human race. He immediately activated the infernal golden crow's eye and shot out 2 terrifying beams of golden light that penetrated the void, revealing an eternal pressure. The 2 supreme eyes seemed to have traversed countless dimensions and dimensions, descending outside the illusion realm. Rumble. Instantly, Xiaoping saw the situation outside the illusory world. At this moment, the void outside the illusory world had already turned into a super battlefield with countless sages fighting it out. Among them, the immortal sages were merely soldiers. The true main force was the primordial sages, and even the invincible sages. The other sages had no chance of interfering in such a high-level battle. Wave after wave of terrifying power swept out, as if they were condensed from the laws of the universe. They contained the terrifying power of space-time, and any one of them was enough to destroy him. A war of this level was not something that Xiaoping could intervene in. With his current cultivation, he would probably die the moment he entered the center of the battlefield. Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly realized that there were a few extremely powerful auras outside the battlefield. It was as if they were the universe themselves, and all the laws revolved around them. They were so strong that it made one's hair stand on end. They were all invincible sages. These were definitely terrifying figures at the level of the human race patriarchs. However, they did not make a move. Instead, they were watching from the side, as if they were guarding against the illusion race's desperate actions and unpredictable dangers. The only human invincible sage who made a move was his aura, that pierced through the sky and shook the 9 heavens. He fought against the illusion race's 8 primordial sages, and 1 invincible sage, all by himself. Xiaoping also knew this person. It was his master, Dark North Sage. Master is here too. Xiaoping was very surprised. However, he also felt how powerful Dark North Sage was. He could fight against 8 primordial sages, and 1 invincible sage all by himself. One could only imagine how powerful Dark North Sage was. Right now, the human race had the absolute upper hand. It was not just the human race sages who made a move. The sages of the other races were also beating the illusion race sages, while they were down. Damn it, we can't let this go on. We can't let this damn Dark North Sage tangle with us. Otherwise, all the low-level sages of the illusion race will die. The one who spoke was the illusion race patriarch Oleg. He had reached the invincible sage level, and was also the strongest expert of the illusion race. He was the true pillar of the race. His face was very ugly. He could see that Dark North Sage was not using his full strength. He was only fighting with them. His goal was to restrain the strongest of the illusion race. It could be said that Dark North Sage was enough to restrain them. As time passed, the sages of the illusion race would all be killed. After all, the human race had the absolute advantage. The illusion race was absolutely no match for them. Once those low-level sages were killed, he would really be the commander of the army. Not to mention, there were still a few old fogies of the human race watching from the side. The reason why they had not made a move was that they were guarding against the illusion race's desperate actions. They were probably going to use a killing move that would kill them all. The other reason was probably to train Dark North Sage. The thought of this made Oleg even angrier. He was the patriarch of the illusion race, an invincible sage who stood at the peak of the universe. But now, he was being used as a trial target. It was outrageous. Patriarch, what should we do? The other 8 sages asked. Fight him. Use all your strength and injure him in an instant. Then use the peerless sage treasure, the Mist Sea Pearl, to escape. We can't fight him head-on. The illusion race patriarch Oleg was very calm. He knew that sages of this level were very difficult to kill. Not to mention, there were a few old fogies of the human race watching from the side. How could he kill Dark North Sage? So the only way out for the illusion race was to escape. If they continued to fight, they would all die. Yes, Patriarch. The 8 sages of the illusion race had a murderous look in their eyes. They could feel Oleg's determination to fight to the death. There was no other way. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.